Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if neglected Naruto becomes Ruthless and Sasuke bashing part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The second stage of the Chunin exams was supposed to be a large battle royal for the various teams to get Earth and Heaven scrolls, one each, then arrive at the central tower. Team 7, led by Sasuke Uchiha, to Naruto's chagrin, was making good progress. They managed to defeat 2 teams and secure extra Earth scrolls, having 3 in total. However, everything went to shit when Naruto, after returning from a pee break, was blasted away by a powerful gust of wind. Followed by appearance of the nightmare of a sound ninja who took sadistic pleasure in attacking Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto, thanks to his ingenuity and shadow clones, managed to kill the massive snake that was attempting to eat him and rejoin his teammates against the weird sound ninja. The battle became even more intense thanks to the inclusion of Naruto, who was subtly getting enhanced by the Nine-Tails chakra throughout the fight. He was darting all over the place, punching and slashing at the snake like ninja. Massive gusts exploded from the clashes between the 2 monsters. In the distance observing the fight, Sakura was finding it hard to breathe under the weight of the Sound Girl's chakra and the evil feeling coming from Naruto. Sasuke was silently observing, finding it impossible to force his body into action. Orochimaru glared at the blonde after their latest clash. He was starting to feel the Nine-Tails chakra burn his hands. His movements are becoming sharper. The boy has no real talent for ninjutsu if Kabuto's recon is correct, which explains the lack of jutsu so far. He's a loudmouth and seems to be similar to how that fool Jiraiya was at that age, the attack first, ask questions later type. I could kill him in an instant. Though it's strange, the longer I fight him the better he responds to my movements. I suppose his lineage simply wouldn't allow him to be completely talentless. He mused. The hidden snake Nin decided to cut the battle short and seal off the Biju to deal with the blonde. It was time to mark Sasuke and leave. He spent more time here than he planned. He was sure that the old bastard, or at the minimum the ANBU, were on the way thanks to the large quantities of chakra being thrown around. Naruto tried to dodge, he really did. He could clearly see the freak coming at him, but no matter how hard he tried his body couldn't move in time. It was more frustrating than any fight he's had with Sasuke, who was frozen watching the battle. The snake was simply so much faster than him it was impossible to move in time. A hand that shone with chakra, each finger holding an elemental symbol on it, was slammed into Naruto's stomach right over the Nine-Tails seal. Naruto's eyes widened in immense pain as he fell over, almost passing out instantly. He would have fallen hundreds of feet if it weren't for Sakura's quick thinking, who threw a kunai to snag his jacket on the tree to catch him. The last thing Naruto heard before the darkness took him was Sakura calling out to Sasuke. Which was just typical. He was likely about to die, and she calls for Sasuke. The Nine-Tails, or rather its chakra, having been cut off from Naruto's chakra due to the additional seal, allowed something to happen that had been impossible ever since Naruto was 20 minutes old. All the chakra that was in his body was wholly his own. Nothing good came from imbalance. The entire purpose of the second stage was to teach this. If you're too focused on your physical strength, or Earth, you'll lack the mental strength, or Heaven, to succeed as a Chunin. Naruto, due to having the yang half of the Nine-Tails sealed within him, was overflowing with physical chakra, and had a major deficit of yin or spiritual chakra. This stunted his body in several ways. It was because of this that he was so hyper. It was because of this that he was unable to control his chakra like others were able to. Considering he had to subconsciously overcome the imbalance that was his overabundance of yang chakra, it was no wonder simple jutsu escaped him. He was, unknowingly, having to siphon out the massive quantities of extra yang chakra and bolster his lacking yin side and somehow arrive at the ratio to perform jutsu. But now that the Nine-Tails chakra that had been slowly dripping into his network since he was born was cut off, it allowed Naruto's body to reach his natural equilibrium of mind and body, yin and yang. It allowed his soul, the core of his and of all shinobi's power, to fight back and bring forth all of its potential after being denied it since his birth. Naruto didn't know this, no one knew this, but he had been born with tremendous power. It was there just out of reach for his whole life due to the imbalance of his chakra. The leaves and trees swayed lightly, clouds in the sky started to move away. Animals throughout the forest perked up on instinct. All of nature knew that a metamorphosis was taking place. It was as if the entire world was welcoming Naruto's rebirth. Naruto's body was correcting itself after so long. Like a free diver coming up after a long swim, it was taking a deep breath that was impossible for nearly 12 years. Allowing his birthright to emerge and change the very balance of the world. It had been a rough couple of days for Team 7. Sakura Haruna was currently fighting 3 sound ninjas with all her might, or what was left of it. The ninja in question found it amusing to taunt her with their strength and torture her by not attacking all at once to just finish the fight. She ran a hand through her now much shorter hair sadly. It took so very long to get it to that length. Oh well, the ugly sound girl had to go for her hair, despite taunting her by saying caring about hair was for children. Seemed she was just jealous because she was ugly and had terrible split ends and took it out on her. Honestly, how hard was it to use conditioner? Snapping her thoughts away from the dumb bitch, she looked to her 2 teammates, as they lay next to each other completely unconscious. Last she checked, Sasuke was running a fever and Naruto's chakra wouldn't settle, making it hard for her to stay hidden. Yet another annoyance. Even in this state he's causing problems. I'm gonna smack the hell out of him after this. She roared in her head as she threw another volley of shuriken at the three-sound ninja in front of her. Ha! Is this the best you have, you stupid bitch? Shouted the one with strange arms and spiky black hair. Sakura hadn't bothered remembering their names. There was ugly bitch, weird arms and mummy face god Naruto was rubbing off on her. She didn't let the taunt get to her, but she was at the end of her rope. She was awake for well over 2 days watching both of her teammates, and had been fighting for a while against these three. They weren't really coming at her due to all the traps in the area, but she's been hit by several air blasts that she didn't have a good way to block from weird arms. Desperation was starting to take hold as her already small reserves of chakra were nearing zero. Please, I need one of you to get up, she thought while gripping her last kunai. The sound ninja with his face covered in bandages stepped forward. I will ask this once again. Hand over Sasuke Uchiha, and we will leave you and your other teammate alive. Dosu, why are we bargaining? We should just kill the angry boy was interrupted by a wave of chakra exploding into the air. All the ninja in the area. Team 10 in the bushes, Team Guy in the trees, the sound team and Sakura all felt the chakra blast into existence over the immediate area. Each of them felt sweat fall down their foreheads as the weight of the chakra fell upon them. It was larger than any of them have ever felt by orders of magnitudes. Even the sound ninja that were subjected to the terrifying presence of Orochimaru could only shake in fear at the feeling of such power. They didn't know what to do. None of them spoke as it was becoming difficult to breathe due to the pressure. Unknown to the ninja in the clearing, it wasn't just them feeling it. Everyone felt it. It only lasted an instant to those outside the forest of death. Everyone who was able to sense chakra beyond a basic level felt their nerves scream at them, telling them a predator had just emerged. The third Hokage in his office felt his battle instinct flare to the max, causing him to turn to the forest in worry of who at that level managed to infiltrate the village during the exams. He was already signaling his personal guard to move out. Jiraiya the Toad Sage, who was sitting in a tree overlooking the hot springs in the southern part of the Leaf Village, snapped his pen and instinctively flared his chakra to prepare for battle. Unfortunately, the women in this particular spring were ninja and pounced on the pervert after noticing his chakra. Kakashi Hatake dropped his book. Might Guy fell from his handstand. Asuma Sarutobi dropped his cigarette. Kurina Yahi nearly tripped over herself as she walked home. The ANBU were frantically moving into action. The barrier squad members nearly passed out. All over the village, hidden in the leaves, shinobi were feeling the pulse of chakra that signaled the birth of the one who would change everything. They would likely pass out in shock if they knew it was coming from the knucklehead Naruto Uzumaki of all people. In the clearing, it was Sakura to figure it out first. She was the closest in proximity to Naruto and managed to turn her head towards him to see a minuscule amount of chakra glowing around his body. It was blue in color, and it was partially translucent, but she could see it covering him, and her mind made the only connection that made sense. Naruto? She managed to say as the chakra pulse was slowly dying out. Her voice caused everyone from the leaf to turn to the unconscious blonde in shock. The sound ninja looked to her blonde teammate nervously. In the next moment the chakra was gone from the area. Everyone was able to breathe normally and wiped the sweat from their faces. Some, particularly those who knew Naruto, chalked it up to a weird fluke and tried to forget about it. Till Naruto stood up. The air around the blonde seemed different. Almost as if it was waiting for his command, as if the world itself was waiting for him to demand something so it could happily oblige. The hairs on the back of everyone next stood up, as if a massive tiger was standing right behind them staring at their necks with drooling fangs. Again, it only lasted a moment before the feeling went away. Sakura looked to her now awake teammate nervously. Naruto? Are you okay? She asked quietly, considering there were 3 enemies listening. Naruto took a deep breath and opened his eye to take in the scene around him. In a single second he was able to figure out what was going on, which was strange, he mused. His mind had never been this clear. He could tell everything that was going on. There were 2 teams just watching the fight. One in the trees above them, he recognized them as the Bushy Brow Squad. Then in the bushes were his former classmates, all staring at him with sweat visible on their faces. Shikamaru in particular looked seriously spooked. Sakura, it seemed, was defending both himself and the bastard from the sound team, all standing in defensive positions, likely trying to figure out their next course of action now that he was awake. Based on how Sakura looked, exhausted, bruised, and she was nearly out of chakra, she wasn't winning the battle. Your eyes, Sakura whispered in shock. While staring at him she noticed something else. Your whiskers are gone? This time at full volume, as she couldn't fathom what had happened to her teammate. The rest of the Leaf Ninja noticed what she was pointing out now that she mentioned it. Naruto's eyes were still blue, but they held a glow to them that was unnatural. They held an image of power that unsettled any who looked into them. While his face was free of his whisker marks somehow, Ino in the bushes thought it was a shame as they were cute. Unknown to everyone, the whiskers were a sign of the imbalance of Ninetales chakra within his body, and now that he was at equilibrium they faded from his face. Like how both the previous holders held no marks signifying their status as Jinchuriki, either did Naruto now. Naruto turned to her and felt his mind go into a shock for a millisecond. Now that he was really focusing, he could see everything: the chakra in the air, the chakra flowing through the trees, the residual chakra of jutsu that were used. If he focused hard enough, he could tell what type of jutsu had been used earlier. It was too much information. He couldn't focus. Then in the next second he somehow acclimated, and he ignored the thousands of stimuli to look at his teammate once again. What do they want? Naruto questioned calmly, ignoring her comments, as he pointed to the 3 sound ninja. Before Sakura could answer, the loud one with the strange arms yelled at him, "Hey! You stupid blonde bastard weir." No one saw it, no one could follow it more than a faint blur, but before anyone knew it, Naruto crossed the distance between himself and the sound ninja to slam his fist into the boy's chest ruthlessly. There was a faint glowing trail of blue chakra from Naruto's fist as he flooded his body to enhance himself. The air was displaced around him from the force behind the impact. Leaves flew away, the ground where Naruto pushed off from was cratered. Rock Lee, observing in the trees, was blown away as he was unable to follow the attack properly. He's become very dangerous, were the collective thoughts of Neji and Shikamaru as their highly strategic minds reassessed the blonde's capabilities from that maneuver, and they didn't like their odds. The sound ninja who took the hit coughed up blood before flying back to a tree, slamming into the base completely out cold. If his chest wasn't moving slightly, everyone would have thought he was killed by the attack. Sakura couldn't believe it. Hell, none of the leaf ninja could. The boy who clumsily and awkwardly fought alongside too many clones to coordinate properly did that. Naruto stood up and shook his fist off. Who the hell was that guy? He asked Sakura with a confused tilt of his head. Well, he was attacking us to get to Sasuke. All 3 of them were. She answered with a glare to the 2 remaining sound ninja and a vindictive flare in her eyes. Hell yeah, Naruto. I don't know what's going on, but kick those jerks' asses. Cha. Naruto turned to them and then back to Sakura. For real, they seem pretty weak? He asked with a frown while pointing his thumb towards the ninja in question. He had looked at their chakra, the amount, density, nature, how and where it was channeled, all of that, and he just couldn't consider them anything more than small fry. Then he turned to the other leaf ninja surrounding them. Also, why are all of you just watching this? Do you want to take our scrolls or something? He asked while rubbing the back of his head, trying to figure out who he was going to have to fight. 6 Leaf Genin felt their eyes widen in shock as the blonde revealed that he knew they were there. Team 10 stood from the bushes, Shikamaru still visibly sweating. That chakra wasn't normal. It felt terrifyingly powerful, and I know it came from him. Those eyes, the change in his body, whatever happened. I want no part of it. We were going to jump in if Sakura couldn't handle it. Shikamaru gulped. Both Ino and Choji knew to let him take the lead here and stayed quiet. Naruto smiled. Ah, that's nice of you, Shikamaru. Bushy brow, are you guys doing the same? He asked a team guy standing in the trees, now visible to everyone else. Neji stepped forward before Lee could answer. No, we were merely observing. We are leaving. With that, he and his team left in a hurry, Lee doing so at the glares of his teammates, as they knew he wanted to speak to the blonde, which they adamantly refused to allow at the moment, since they didn't know what Naruto would do next if they stuck around too long. Why are they running off? Naruto wondered aloud. Well, not like their team isn't weird. I mean, anyone with a sensei that has eyebrows like that is surely crazy. Right, Sakura? He laughed while looking to his teammate with a grin. She could only nod dumbly, completely shocked at the change in tone of the situation. Before, it was a life-or-death battle that she was slowly losing hope of winning, and now Naruto has made it almost like a social gathering with no real danger. Dosu, the leader of the 3 sound ninja, felt his heart settle back down and knew when to cut his losses. We will retreat without fight if you allow us. As an offering, here is our scroll, he said while setting down their heaven scroll. Naruto watched as they picked up their teammate before fleeing into the forest. Guess they didn't want to fight anymore. He laughed lightly, then clapped. Well then, I guess they were terrified of my sheer awesomeness, Sakura picked the sleeping princess up and let's get moving, we have the scroll we needed now, he ordered with lazy smile on his face. Sakura twitched at being ordered by her idiotic teammate. You know what she meant, Naruto's eyes causing her to flinch, and went to pick up Sasuke without a fuss. He's so solid, she mentally squealed while rubbing Sasuke's muscles as she carried him. Naruto stared dumbly at her for a moment, before letting his eyes roam over Sasuke's form. What the hell? Who put such corrosive chakra into him? When did that happen? Why is it attacking his body and chakra network? What the hell? Does that enhance him and cause withdrawals like a drug? Who could create that? Who would create that? Who would do such a terrible thing to Sasuke? That strange sound girl? The hell did I miss? Naruto didn't realize it yet, but he thought all of that in blink of an eye as his mind was able to process information hundreds of times faster now thanks to his now activated bloodline. Hey Shikamaru, are you guys coming with us? We're headed to the tower. He called out to Team 10 who were still frozen in the bushes watching the events that just happened. While tempted, Shikamaru shook his head. We don't have the necessary scrolls yet. We'll see you there, he answered before rushing off, dragging both Choji and Ino behind him, the latter of which looked like she wanted to comment before being pulled away. Sakura watched them leave numbly. She didn't believe for a moment that they would have helped had it gotten worse. Had it not been for Naruto's new terrifying presence asking them why they were here, she doubted she would have even seen them in the first place. She was sure they would have stepped in either right before she died or right after, hopefully the former. Maybe I wasn't ready for this test, she thought sadly. She was behind Sasuke and even Naruto before entering the exams, and it was the trials of the forest that hammered that home. Naruto, completely unaware of Sakura's inner thoughts, walked over to Sasuke and jabbed a finger overflowing with chakra into Sasuke's upper spine with a frown. If he was right and what he was seeing was correct, then that should slow the spread of that evil chakra into his system. Sakura felt the impact and spun around to Naruto with a glare. The hell did you just do? She questioned him fiercely, protectiveness of Sasuke overpowering her unease around Naruto. Naruto raised his hands with a smile, hopefully slowed the spread of that chakra from the mark on his neck. Let's get going, we're not that far from the tower, he answered lightly. Sakura didn't know how to respond to that, and just decided to follow him silently. Her head was starting to hurt at the changes Naruto just went through. It took them 2 hours of walking to get to the tower. Naruto dealt with 3 teams that tried to ambush them at lightning speed, and they made it to the tower without much hassle. Sakura was done trying to figure out what was going on with Naruto, and just accepted that he was somehow way better than before and followed behind him tiredly. At this point she just wanted a shower and a bed, she didn't care anymore. Sasuke was heavy on her shoulders, and it wasn't nearly as fun carrying him anymore. Inside the tower they saw a sign telling them a riddle concerning heaven and earth. Sakura didn't even bother reading it, she let Naruto give his new brain a go at it. Naruto read it over a few times before snapping his fingers. Ah, we need to open one of each type of scroll at the same time, he exclaimed happily. Sakura sighed. Sure, let's give it a go. Wahoo! Naruto cheered as he opened both at the same time while wiggling in place, excited at what was to come. Sakura felt her exhaustion fully hit her and unceremoniously dropped her crush to the floor, then sat on the ground. She was even more tired watching Naruto's excited attitude. An explosion of smoke came from the scrolls, and from it emerged their teacher from the academy, Iruka. At first, he smiled at Sakura, then frowned in worry at the unconscious Sasuke. Turning to Naruto, he felt his heart stop. The chakra coming from him was the same as that terrifying pulse from earlier. If it wasn't for the fact that it contained no traces of Ninetales chakra, he would have believed the seal was broken and the demon was free once again. What the fuck happened to Naruto? He thought in shock, unable to form words. He didn't even want to mention the glowing eyes that made his head spin. Naruto didn't know nor care about the internal thoughts of Iruka and just waved happily. Iruka-sensei. Long time no see. We finally finished up in the forest. Thank goodness, cause there's bunch of weirdos in there, I'm telling ya. He laughed. Iruka chuckled nervously. Is that right? Well, I was supposed to tell you about the meaning behind heaven and earth, but I think we need to get Sasuke to the medics. And Naruto, I think you may need to see them too. Naruto waved his hand back and forth. No, I'm fine, not hurt at all. Sakura is out of chakra though, and her coils are pretty strained. Also, someone needs to look at Sasuke's neck mark. It's poisoning him with chakra, he informed Iruka while picking his ear. Iruka looked at Sasuke's neck and gasped in recognition, then turned to Naruto in confusion at his knowledge to what was going on. Sakura just sighed from her place on the ground. She knew Iruka-sensei would catch up. Naruto spent the remainder of the time before the second part of the exams finished in his room just staring out the window into the forest and thinking. He didn't really get it when he woke up the first time, but he was starting to figure out how his eyes worked now. He'd have to think up a name for his eyes. They were clearly an ability similar to Sasuke's Sharingan. The best way to describe it would be as if someone who saw the world in the earliest, most basic version of a television now saw it through the latest cutting-edge monitor that the hospitals used. He instinctively understood chakra, and could control it with the closest thing to perfection. Not to mention he was able to remember things he saw perfectly and process information at extremely fast speeds. Naruto could see everything in incredible detail. He could even focus and see things in even greater detail than his normal vision, like from a tree to the individual threads that made up the leaves. He flooded his body and muscles like he knew the more experienced ninja did to enhance themselves to be stronger and faster, and found that not only could he do it unlike before, but he was able to do it to a level he didn't think possible till now. Earlier against a sound ninja he was able to rush forward and punch him without anyone reacting, and he wasn't even really pushing himself. Another thing he noticed was that his eyes didn't turn off like Sasuke's Sharingan. They were always active. The constant input of information was helpful during a fight, and if he were trying to understand a situation as quickly as possible but just sitting around lounging, it was a bit annoying. He actually started closing his eyes when he didn't need them. He found he was still very much aware of the world around him even with them closed. He'd have to think of a better solution because he was sure he looked a bit strange walking around with his eyes closed but still moving as if he could see perfectly. Since the pulse of chakra, people were taking the situation of the exams a bit differently. The Jonin and ENBU were stationed at various places around the tower to monitor for whatever or whoever was responsible. Jiraiya skipped all pretenses of waiting to run into Naruto organically and went to the tower to meet up with the third Hokage to investigate the situation. The Hokage, when he arrived at the tower along with Jiraiya and Kakashi, were pulled aside by Iruka. Iruka stared at what was likely the 3 most powerful leaf ninja with a serious expression. It's Naruto, he said seriously. All 3 of them, who all had different levels of attachment to the boy in question, looked at Iruka with narrowed eyes, hoping it wasn't something bad. Iruka gulped. That chakra, it was Naruto, he's different. When the prelims start, you'll see. He's in his team's room right now if you want to see him now. Although I think addressing Sasuke Uchiha's curse mark is more pressing, which is what the three of them did. Thankfully Sasuke was still out cold when they arrived, so they were able to bind the curse mark with a sealing jutsu called the evil sealing method quite easily. Sasuke woke up shortly after, groggy and confused. While more irritable than before, he wasn't too different after getting briefed on where he was and the situation with the seal. Although safe from the effects of the seal at the moment, Sasuke mentioned his chakra was a bit more wild than normal. The three moved on and decided to wait till the next day when the prelims would take place to see the changes in Naruto, which is where they found themselves, all gaping at the blonde's glowing blue eyes and terrifying chakra that was barely held beneath the surface. The other jonin, from the leaf or otherwise, were all doing the same. While the blonde in question was chuckling at Sasuke, who in turn glared at him hatefully, which caused him to laugh harder. Hiruzen turned to Jiraiya. Have you? No. The sage answered seriously, that is not something I've ever seen. If I couldn't feel his chakra, and see that his whiskers are somehow gone, I would assume that he was just pushing a lot of chakra into his eyes for whatever reason and nothing was all that different. But they are different, and the glow is unnatural. Neither Minato nor Kushina had anything remotely similar to that. Kakashi uncovered his Sharingan for a moment to look at the blonde. I would ask a Hyuga to confirm, but his chakra is calmer than I've ever seen it, and his eyes have a tremendous amount of chakra flowing through them, similar to an activated ocular jutsu, like mine or Sasuke's Sharingan. Hiruzen hummed for a moment as his mind worked at light speed. We will see what changes have come in the coming moment during his battle. I suspect things are going to be a lot more interesting soon. Kakashi and Jiraiya both agreed. In the far corner, a concealed Orochimaru was staring at Naruto with a gaping mouth in complete shock. What the fuck? The snake thought uncharacteristically. A sentiment shared by everyone else in the room that has met the blonde before. Down with all the genin, Naruto was still enjoying himself by laughing at Sasuke, who was in his normal grumpy attitude. You know that evil chakra is sealed off, right? So why are you acting all moody? Sad Sakura's not babying you anymore, he asked with mocking frown. Sasuke continued to glare at the blonde, while Sakura just stared ahead completely over it. Naruto had been poking fun at her and Sasuke ever since they got to the tower, and no matter what either of them did, they couldn't touch Naruto to shut him up. Yelling at him just made him laugh at them. It was a horrible day when the class clown/prankster suddenly became all-powerful. The third Hokage appeared before the crowd of Chunin hopefuls with a smoking pipe in his mouth and his hands folded behind his back. Congratulations for making it this far, he said gravely. Naruto smiled at the old man, then proceeded to tune out the rest of his speech. He got the gist of it. This was a substitute for war, and they needed to fight for the village. He got it. They were show ponies for the future of their respective villages to potential clients. When they asked if anyone wanted to drop from the exams, the guy with the info cards quit for some reason, even though he wasn't hurt or lacking in chakra. Naruto rolled his eyes, assuming that he was a coward or something. While stronger than practically all of the genin here, the guy still ran off, so Naruto didn't spare him much thought. After that, another monologue started, and Naruto decided to be himself. Ah, old man, we get it. Can we move on? I'm about to pass out here. Naruto whined with his hands in the air in exasperation. The Leaf Jonin forgot about Naruto's new presence for a moment, and were reminded that he was in fact an immature idiot. Many took to glaring at both him and Kakashi, who was rubbing his head nervously, as Naruto's disrespect reflected poorly on him. Truly, do you understand? Hiruzen asked in amusement. Duh, yeah, damn geezer. Naruto answered, getting hisses from many of the Leaf Nin and a small snort from Jiraiya up in the Hokage observation platform. We're show ponies for the old fogies, and there are too many of us for the main event, so you got to weed out some of the weaklings. I swear you take 100 words to say 20. The disrespect was ignored in favor for the surprise that Naruto of all people understood the situation when he was clearly not paying too much attention. Well, very good. A surprised Hiruzen muttered with a nod. I leave it to you. He turned to a sickly-looking Jonin, then moved to his platform with Jiraiya. The man introduced himself as Hate. If you would all look to the monitor, he said with a small cough. Names began flashing, and after a while it was Sasuke's, and someone named Yoroi. Naruto looked at his teammate's opponent, and saw that his chakra seemed to have special properties around his hands. Sasuke, watch out for his hands, he said quietly. Sasuke barely heard it, and before he could ask why, someone else did. Kakashi, who was suddenly leaning down with his head next to Naruto's, added, Why is that? He whispered. Naruto fell back in shock. He didn't even know when Kakashi got there. Whoa, how'd you do that, Kakashi-sensei? He asked in bewilderment before answering. His chakra, it's got something interesting going on with his hands, he whispered to the two who gazing at the boy in question. Kakashi hummed in interest, so his eyes did have some type of ocular jutsu that allowed him to see chakra. Well, you heard him, Sasuke. Let's get up to the second level, Sakura, Naruto, Kakashi said with a nice smile before walking towards the stairs. Moments later it was just the Uchiha and the strange genin left, and their fight began. Sasuke made quick work of the guy with Naruto's warning and Sharingan enhanced hand to hand. Naruto cheered loudly and obnoxiously. Woo! You did it, you beat that guy! He shouted, getting glares from some of the others in the room. Kakashi clapped with an eye smile next to the blonde while Sakura was on the other end of the stands next to Kurenai pretending she was in Team 8. Fights continued for a while. Naruto made a genuine nuisance of himself by calling out everyone's weaknesses as a joke while they fought, then made both helpful and unhelpful suggestions. Shino, your bugs are really gross. I mean, they're inside that guy's arms? Yeah, they should eat that chakra, it's like an air cannon. Well, Choji's extra fat, that sound guy will have an easier target now. Hey Hinata, he's hitting those chakra point things inside you, you should block that. Fuck you Hyuga guy. I'll kick your ass, is he a puppet? Think Bun Bun will notice it's a wind jutsu? These sound ninja are all on brand, huh? I mean Jinjutsu from a bell? Think they go out of their way to stick to their niche? Oh cool, Shikamaru won. The only ones that were enjoying Naruto's commentary were Kakashi, Hiruzen and Jiraiya. All three who would have been bored out of their minds watching Genin fight. Also, Naruto's observations gave them insight into his eyes' new abilities. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Oh hey, I get Kiba, Naruto said with a cheer. Ha! Akamaru, we get an easy one. Kiba cheered while petting his faithful companion who was laying on the ground refusing to move. Huh, what's wrong? Naruto jumped down to the arena before turning to Kiba. He's scared, he called out happily. Kiba glared at the blonde, as if he probably doesn't want to waste his time with a dead last. No worries, I got this myself, Kiba said arrogantly, not noticing Akamaru was shaking while looking away from Naruto. It was unfortunate that his enhanced senses were primarily in his nose, as he didn't quite notice how much Naruto has changed beyond his eyes. To which he thought Naruto was just trying to get more attention. Hade looked between the two nervously. Well, the blonde made him nervous, not Kiba, then started the fight on the Hokage's signal. Everyone, from the Genin to the Hokage, leaned forward in anticipation. Naruto watched Kiba approach him as if he was in slow motion. He could see every muscle twitch and minuscule detail of the boy's approach and felt like he had hours to respond. A punch from the Inuzuka flew at Naruto at speeds that he would have likely been unable to dodge before his evolution. To everyone's shock and Kiba's horror, Naruto disappeared, then was suddenly behind Kiba looking in the direction of his punch. Who was that aimed at? He taunted lightly. I would advise you start moving a bit quicker or you'll never hit me, he added with a chuckle. Kiba shouted in anger before releasing a barrage of attacks. Each time Naruto would disappear, then blur behind Kiba with a laugh, not even once going on the offensive. In the stands, everyone was shocked at the blonde's new abilities. It was unbelievable how he went from one of the weaker idiots in their generation to this. What the hell? Kurenai muttered in shock. Kiba was a very talented genin. She was confident he was going to have a chance to beat nearly anyone here. Now he was being led around like a child by someone that should have been useless. Kakashi was observing with his Sharingan active. He's supplementing his body with chakra. I don't think a single drop is being wasted, he said lightly, hiding his surprise. Guy was looking down seriously. He is going to be a tough one to beat, he said lowly to his apprentice, who nodded seriously. Niji had his Byakugan active and was watching in shock. When did that blonde moron get a bloodline? His eyes have chakra running through them, similar to how mine or the Uchihas do when our eyes are active. Everyone heard his comment and found their suspicions confirmed. Jiraiya continued to watch closely. The young Hyuga confirmed what Kakashi was saying. We'll have to talk to Naruto after the prelims, sensei. Something changed Naruto, and I'll bet my fortune it has to do with Orochimaru attacking Sasuke in the forest. It was the only thing that made sense after all. Hiruzen nodded. I agree. I'll have Kakashi bring him to us afterwards. Although I'm sure he would have anyway. Sasuke glared as he watched with his Sharingan. I don't get it. That idiot didn't have a bloodline before, he said in shock. Sakura walked over. In the forest while you were both unconscious, Naruto's chakra and body changed, she said with a frown. He was different, or rather his presence was. He's still an idiot, just able to take out an enemy in the blink of an eye with no effort. Kakashi turned to her. Yeah? He asked lightly, although his performance right now led him to believe it. Kakashi was still curious at Naruto's improvements. The sound Genin Zaku, the one Shino fought, she answered. I'm honestly surprised he managed to make it here after that. Naruto hit him harder than anyone I've ever seen. Shino, who was near them watching with his team, spoke up. Then that would explain where the broken ribs that my bugs felt came from. I found it odd he was that injured and still fighting, he commented. Down below, Naruto was having a great time, but found he was getting bored. Hey, I'm gonna attack now, okay? He said to the huffing Inuzuka. Similar to before, Naruto blurred forward and punched Kiba. This time he made sure not to hit him nearly as hard as he did the sound guy from the forest. Though, Kiba was still blasted off his feet and sent rolling back till he hit the wall completely out cold. Naruto frowned as he looked at his fist. Am I that much stronger or is he that weak? He turned to Kakashi. Did I hit him too hard? I expected him to be okay at that level. I didn't even put that much chakra into it. Kakashi answered from the stands with a nice smile. Naruto, there was enough power in that punch to knock out any Chunin I've met, he said with a thumbs up. He didn't mention that some jonin would likely have been taken out due to the impressive speeds Naruto just showed. Naruto listened to his sensei before turning to Kiba, who was starting to come to. Hey dog breath, you suck. White bronchitis, call it he's finished. He called to the proctor in amusement. Hate's sweat dropped. Is he referring to me? He looked at Kiba for a moment, who was failing to get to his feet before nodding to himself. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto Hoop then jumped back up to the stand smiling at his team. That was pretty easy. He laughed with a comical expression on his face. Teammate Sensei Kurenai gave him a side eye at his disrespect, but didn't call him out. Shikamaru, who had been unable to think of anything else since Naruto's awakening in the forest, stepped forward towards Naruto. His personality is the same, so he may answer me here. What's up with your eyes? He asked nonchalantly. Everyone subconsciously leaned forward hoping for answers. Naruto perked up. Oh yeah, I have super awesome eyes now, he said with a grin. Everyone in earshot fell over at his answer. Shikamaru shot up. I get that, you idiot, what's new about them? He shouted, much to his team's shock. Naruto leaned away from the Nara. Well, why are you all upset? I mean, I can see way better. Not to mention my chakra control is really good now. Honestly, it's not too big of a deal. I'm as awesome as I've always been, he said with a devilish grin. Shikamaru rubbed his forehead tiredly. I don't know if he's messing with me or just the same old dumbass. Kakashi smiled at the interaction. Interesting. I guess we'll have to talk to him later. At least his ego isn't too much bigger, he thought with a chuckle. Sakura didn't care about her troublesome teammate's weirdness anymore. Meanwhile, Sasuke was staring at Naruto with his Sharingan active, trying to understand him. Stop gazing into my eyes, you bastard. Shut up, loser. Naruto watched sadly as Sakura and Ino fell to the ground in a spectacular double knockout. The fight was boring. They were moving slower than anyone else so far. The only interesting part came when Ino managed to slam her mind into Sakura. Who would have thought that Sakura has a second personality? Naruto thought cheerfully, shame that she lost. It would have been nice for all three of us to make it to the finals. But with a showing like that, maybe it's for the best. Kakashi set Sakura down against the wall with Asuma doing the same next to him with Ino. Team 10 and Team 7 gathered around their unconscious members. Well, not like that wasn't a lame showing, Naruto said simply. He turned to the two jonin with mock disappointment, and pointed to the two girls. That's your fault. I mean, they were so weak they both lost. Kakashi thumped Naruto on the head, while Asuma glared at him but didn't say anything. Sasuke looked at Sakura sadly. I expected more from her. She did well to protect us in the forest, he grumbled. Yeah, but that was against the Sound Ninja, and we've seen they're pretty weak. I mean, Shikamaru beat one without throwing a punch, Naruto said, then chuckled. The only remaining Sound Ninja in the room, Dosu, could only glare at Naruto as he was too terrified to say anything in response. Kakashi thumped Naruto again. Don't insult other countries, he chastised, barely. Naruto, in a lightning blitz of speed that Kakashi wasn't ready for, shot his arm out and thumped Kakashi on the shoulder since he couldn't reach his head. Stop that! Naruto whined with an overdramatic frown. Kakashi only chuckled while he waved his student off. He really is the same as before, he just has this crazy ability enhancing his skills, he thought lightly. The next fight was Rock Lee versus a guy from the sand, Gaara. Naruto and the others watched as the beginnings of the fight were strictly hand-to-hand, most of which was Lee defending from omnidirectional sand that was protecting Gaara. The sand is filled with chakra, Naruto said with an uncharacteristic seriousness. Kakashi, Guy and the rest turned to him with a frown. Down below, Lee back flipped away, then blitzed forward to re-engage. Obviously, otherwise he couldn't control the sand, said Sasuke with narrowed eyes, unknowingly saying what was on the jonin's minds. Naruto shook his head. Yeah, sure, I wouldn't have mentioned it if it was just his chakra. But that sand has two, no three, different chakras in it. Strange, he said with a hum at the end. The jonin who managed to hear him narrowed their eyes at the information, particularly Kakashi, who uncovered his Sharingan. Guy, who was next to him, leaned over as his rival worked to confirm his student's information. Kakashi covered his eye with a sigh. Whatever he is able to see, it's beyond what I can. To me, the sand has chakra in it, that's all. Lee landed on the statue after a series of dodges, and Guy, having more insight into Gaara now, decided to allow him to remove his weights. Rock Lee took those words with genuine excitement as he happily revealed weights beneath his leg warmers, then quickly held them up after removing them. Gaara merely watched silently, still showing no emotion on his face, which was ironic considering the tattoo on his forehead of the kanji for love. Naruto smiled at the interaction, not fully understanding the ceremony of the situation. Huh? You wouldn't think taking a few weights off would make someone that happy? He wondered. Who knows with those two? Kakashi sighed tiredly, long past trying to figure out Guy's eccentricities that were unfortunately passed on to his student. Everyone watched as the weight fell to the ground, wondering what the big deal was. The sand ninja watching didn't believe it would matter all that much, till the earth shook from the weights hitting the ground. The reaction from everyone in the room, from Genin to the supervising jonin, Orochimaru in disguise, Jiraiya, and the third observing up top. They're insane. Naruto shook his head in amusement. I'd love to have a fight with Lee. He's got some incredible strength if he's that fast with those weights, and no chakra helping him out. he said lightly. Lee shot off towards Gaara several times quicker than before, Guy cheering him on with all the genin muttering in shock at the speed. Naruto was able to easily follow the fight despite the incredible speed that they were moving at now. While Lee was moving at, Gaara seemed just as surprised and unable to follow the green beast as the rest of the genin. After removing his weights, Lee's movements were not only faster but far more precise. Naruto decided to watch him far more closely. The way Lee's muscles would contract for his movements, the placements of his feet, the way his shoulders angled, everything Lee did Naruto soaked up with glee. Now that his brain was processing information hundreds of times faster, he was able to pick apart what was happening in incredible detail. Lee's fighting style revolved around striking very hard and very fast. Naruto knew that his own technique left much to be desired, so he would work to incorporate these movements. At the same time, Gaara was able to maneuver his sand in more widespread ways now that he was directing it with his hands. Naruto was able to see the various types of chakra coming within the grains as he attacked. What's he doing? His bandages are moving? Naruto wondered aloud, getting Kakashi's head to snap towards him before he watched the fight more closely. True to Naruto's observations, Lee managed to kick Gaara in the chin, launching him into the air, then proceeded to follow up with an impressive series of kicks. Each impact reverberated through the room, getting small flinches from the genin at the powerful display. The bandages wrapped around Gaara, allowing Lee to grab and spin the sand ninja into the hard ground. Naruto tilted his head in wonder while watching the turn of events. He looked over at Kakashi and Guy, who were talking back and forth lowly, then to the genin around the stands, watching in anticipation with impressed looks on their faces at Lee's capabilities. Then he decided to ruin it for fun. That was a pretty good substitution by Sandboy, Naruto said with a devilish smile. Hope Lee isn't hurt too bad by the backlash, since he didn't really accomplish much. The ninja around him looked at him in shock, Team Guy in horror, before turning back to the fight to watch as Lee's attack landed and was revealed to be wasted. How the hell? Muttered Tenten while watching Lee barely dodge the sand due to the pain from the lotus. When muttered Niji, Guy was frantic while watching the fight progress. I didn't even see it, he shouted in shock. It was during the kicks, answered Kakashi with his Sharingan exposed. When you closed your eyes to pray, he switched out in a flash. I would pull him from the fight, Guy. He's in no condition to continue. Guy glared at his rival, but before he could talk, Naruto spoke up lazily. Nah, he's gonna be fine. He's pushing chakra to those inner blockers. Give him a minute or so and he'll have quite the boost. Blockers? Asked Sasuke, not seeing what Naruto was talking about with his Sharingan. They're called gates, the 8 inner gates to be exact, answered Kakashi while turning his Sharingan enhanced glare to Guy. And you taught how to open them to a genin. You're going to cripple that boy. Guy gave his rival a side eye before focusing back on his struggling student while leaning forward over the railing. His fingers were pushing into the metal railing due to his nervous squeezing. You wouldn't get it, having everything come to you so easily, he said in a low baritone. For the rest of us, we have to claw and crawl for every bit of strength. It's even worse for Lee. Even the most basic ninjutsu and genjutsu is beyond him. His expression turned fond as Lee was slowly getting faster, as he was overcoming the backlash of the primary lotus. Lee just wants to prove he's a splendid ninja with his hard work. I only did everything in my power to help him with his dream, he proclaimed proudly. Naruto smiled down at Lee. He was truly impressed with the boy's drive to achieve his dream. Not to mention the evidence of thousands of hours of hard work getting him to where he is now with his lack of ninjutsu or genjutsu. I think he's gotten there already, bushy brow sensei, Naruto interjected lightly. Something I've learned is that ninja don't always improve on a slow curve. It can be a sharp and immediate increase as well. Lee's movements became even sharper than before as his body was acclimating to the 8 gates activation. His eyes flaring with incredible power, and his entire body shining brightly with green chakra. Every movement was perfectly executed and delivered with tremendous force, destroying the fighting arena. Gaara was pushing even more chakra into the sand, trying to keep up with Green Genin's speed, but was being sent flying by a rapid aerial combo. I mean, he's already adapting and improving with every second. I can tell that he's become way better than he was before this fight. If he keeps going as he is, then he'll no doubt become one of the best taijutsu users the Leaf Village has ever seen. Naruto finished with a small smile as his glowing eyes took in every detail. Guy looked down happily, a bit of water popping up in his eyes. Thank you for those words, young Naruto. I'll trust those eyes to see Lee's incredible potential. Naruto laughed in response. Leave it to me, he said with a thumbs up. The rest of the fight was both incredible and terrifying for those watching. Ino and Sakura had woken up just before Lee awakened the gates fully, and were enraptured by the boy's skills. Both of them fully realizing that they were way out of their league if those two were potential opponents for them. Lee's explosive use of 5 of the 8 inner gates showed Naruto that there was so much out there that he didn't know. While observing the world with his new eyes that allowed him to begin understanding it better, he was only now realizing that he had a fundamental lack of knowledge to connect the dots. Otherwise, he would be able to put things into words beyond limit thing, chakra wall thing, different chakras moving all strange. It was just hard to put into words what he instinctively knew. As the fight was reaching a climax, Lee was completely unable to fight and fell to the ground, his body giving out under the stress of the 5th gate. Gaara didn't hesitate, and shot his sand at the boy with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. The Jonin, Guy in particular, were about to rush to save Lee, but a blur shot forward first, stopping the sand from even touching Lee. The resulting impact blasted all the sand away, making most turn away from the shockwave. Naruto had shot forward and smacked the sand away with a hand packed with dense chakra. He turned to Lee with a frown. Based on the injuries, it would likely take weeks if not months of rehabilitation to get back into fighting shape. Though it would have been nigh impossible if Gaara was able to crush Lee in his sand like he wanted. "Hey sand boy. You won, no need to go that far," Naruto said with a frown while standing guard in front of Lee as he subconsciously released his chakra. Gaara began breathing heavily at Naruto's appearance. His chakra began moving erratically as his instincts flared beyond what he's ever felt. Naruto's presence driving Gaara to near hysteria as the beast within was screaming to flee to save their lives. In the next moment, Baki, the sand Jonin who looked visibly nervous, appeared in front of Gaara with his arms spread. Guy and Kakashi also landed in front of Naruto looking serious and bored respectfully. You guys didn't have to help me out, I would have taken these losers out." Naruto laughed while picking up Lee. His grin became fiendish. "I mean, that sandy Jonin over there seems pretty nervous just looking at me." Kakashi sighed tiredly. "Please try and not cause an incident with the hidden sand village, Naruto." Baki interjected. "I think we can end this and move on. Gaara, go back to the stands to Temari and Kankuro," he ordered, somehow snapping the frantic boy out of it and getting him to leave in a swirl of sand. That seems to be a very uncomfortable way of travel," muttered Naruto lightly. Getting sand everywhere would be miserable, he thought. Guy moved to take leave from Naruto. "Thank you for jumping in, Naruto. I was hesitant to interfere, but that was the right call," he said shamefully while holding his nearly crippled student. He knew that had the sand wrapped around Lee it would have been the end of his journey. Kakashi patted his rival on the back before grabbing Naruto to body flicker back to the stands. "Try not to interfere again, they may disqualify you," Kakashi chastised lightly. Naruto frowned in frustration at the thought of being disqualified for saving a comrade, which caused his chakra to flare and eyes to glow brighter subconsciously. He didn't even notice it was escaping him. Everyone in the room who wasn't in the clearing during the second test felt the weight of Naruto's chakra in person for the first time. It was very different than an instinctual fear from the flare. Now that they had a front row seat to it, the genin were visibly terrified and unable to move while the Jonin and Hokage became extremely weary. Somehow it was Sakura of all people who smacked Naruto on the back of the head. "Stop it, you're scaring everyone, dumbass," she told him tiredly. Her hand was shaking, but she managed to hold firm, knowing in her heart that he was still the same Naruto for the most part. Naruto's presence instantly went back to normal, and he looked around surprised. Everyone from Sasuke to the other Jonin sensei were looking at him warily. It was a different look than what he was used to getting as a kid, one of loathing and apprehension. This was just planned fear. He didn't really understand why. He wasn't trying to scare anyone. He turned to the high stands where the Hokage and some other old dude were standing and shot over. He needed to figure out what was going on with everyone's reaction to his chakra, and the old man knew more than most about stuff like this. He was really strong himself. Hiruzen and Jiraiya were able to follow Naruto's approach, but they were blown away by the boy's speed. He was easily on par with skilled Jonin, although his movements weren't exactly skillful. It was due to his masterful chakra control allowing him this speed, not physical skill. Landing on the railing, Naruto looked at the Hokage with a frown, then felt a bit vindictive, which caused his eyes to crinkle in amusement. "Hey, old man, is everyone here so lame that I scare them that much? I don't get it?" he asked with a whisper shout, making sure everyone could hear him to twist the knife. He found it pretty funny that everyone was so scared of him now. That prankster personality and his normal ego take on a much different tone now that he's this capable, mused Hiruzen. Had it been anyone else he would squash such things here and now, but Naruto's childhood flashed into his brain, and he felt the blonde probably deserved some respect as recompense. Jiraiya was the one to answer. "You may not get it, but your chakra presence is far stronger than most would have ever encountered, much less greenhorns like we have here," he said seriously. He didn't want to mention that the number of people he's felt that scared him more with just their chakra were in fact just two, the third Hokage and Hanzo of the Salamanders. Naruto nodded the information, then turned to Jiraiya. "Who the hell are you, you old man?" he questioned comically. Instead of being put off, Jiraiya grinned happily at the question. "Who am I, you ask?" he shouted while getting into a pose, and he readied his summoning jutsu. Hiruzen interjected. "He's a former student of mine, Jiraiya," he answered, making Jiraiya fall over and sulk due to his intro being interrupted. Naruto stared at Jiraiya for several moments, causing both Hiruzen and Jiraiya to look at him curiously. Jiraiya felt like he was being broken down to the smallest details by those eyes and found that he didn't like it one bit. Right as he was about to say something, Naruto turned around. "So he's an old guy like you. Cool, I guess. Your chakra is very interesting, geezer," he said lightly before speeding back over to his team. Jiraiya turned to his sensei with his face serious. "I don't know what happened to him, but he's unlike anyone I've ever come across. I didn't sense a speck of the Nine Tails chakra either. It was like it was completely gone from his body," he said while watching Naruto get lightly reprimanded by Kakashi for bothering them. "I would like to learn more about his eyes and what he's able to see, but for now let's assume it's unique to him. and be thankful he's been given such a gift with those men out there looking for him," Hiruzen said with a puff of his pipe. "Not to mention Orochimaru lurking around itching to cause trouble. We may have need of Naruto's newfound strength soon. He'll need some growing up to match his power up before he's all that reliable," Jiraiya said with a snort, getting a laugh out of the Hokage. "Ha! He's always been a brat, now he's a brat with terrible power. You saw how fast and strong he was in that match," Hiruzen said lightly. "If he were to hammer in the basics of taijutsu, he may become faster and stronger than any of us with just chakra enhancement. We also don't know what he's like when pushing it to the max. I would honestly put him on a level above most in the village shinobi. We need to see his abilities with ninjutsu and genjutsu to really understand, but as of now only the very best would be able to face him and win." It was a crazy thing to say, but Jiraiya believed it after getting a small up-close look at him. Naruto didn't know it, but he was giving off a vibe of supreme confidence, that when mixed with his strength made him all the more fearsome. He supposed that this was why even experienced jonin like Asuma and Guy were weary around him at the moment. "Indeed," Hiruzen agreed. "I would have normally allowed you to go about meeting and training him in your own way, but as of now we will be dropping all pretenses. He has awakened a new bloodline that has granted him unknown abilities. After we speak with him, he is to be with you at all times. I do not want Danzo to have time to approach him. That is the last thing anyone needs, and I do not want to hear about it from the other elders that he needs to be trained properly." Jiraiya could only nod silently while he mourned his precious research time in the coming weeks. But even he could understand the gravity of the situation. It wouldn't take long for Naruto's awakened abilities to spread through the village, then the continent. Mix in his now uncanny resemblance to Minato now that his whiskers were gone, things are gonna change. In his expert spy opinion, Naruto would have the month before everyone in a position of power to have at least heard a rumor about him. In their discussions, Hiruzen and Jiraiya didn't notice that the last of the prelim fights were finished and the winning genin were gathered on the floor again to determine their opponents for the finals. Hate gestured to a small podium with a box atop it. "We're not going to make it complicated, pick a number. Number 1 will fight number 2 and so on. Sasuke Uchiha, please step forward." Sasuke walked up silently and drew his number. Funnily enough, it was number 1. From there it continued. Naruto watched on as it was decided that Puppet Dude would fight Shino. Shikamaru would fight Wind Girl. Dosu the Sound Guy got the highest number, meaning a free round, and finally he drew his number with a comical expression. He showed it to everyone else. He had been hoping for 2 to fight Sasuke, but he got 3, meaning the Hyuga. But that means... Naruto thought warily while looking to Gaara, who by process of elimination was to be Sasuke's opponent in the first round. He locked eyes with Kakashi, who gave him a reassuring eye smile that only made him worry more. Sasuke could only clench his fists as he stared forward, ignoring everyone. "So these are the matchups for the first round of the finals. We need time to allow the dignitaries and Kazekage to arrive, so you have 1 month to train. I would keep everyone in the finals in mind as you prepare. You don't know who you could end up facing should you win," instructed Hate to the Chunin hopefuls. With that, the second exam was officially over and everyone began leaving. The supervising Jonin and Chunin left to perform their duties while the sensei gathered their teams to lead them out of the forest towards their designated training areas. Unlike the rest, Kakashi led his team to the Hokage, who then gestured for them to follow him out of the forest to his office in the Hokage Tower. Jiraiya was silently accompanying them while the Hokage's A and B guards were following from the shadows. Standing in the Hokage's office, Naruto absent-mindedly took in the room as the old people got settled. It was an interesting room if he were honest, not due to the items within the room but the residual chakra that had seeped into the environment. The desk that the old man sat behind was practically glowing from the chakra of 4 of the most powerful people in history having sat behind it. "Naruto!" The blonde's head shot up at Sakura's shout to notice that everyone in the room was staring at him. He tilted his head in confusion. "I wasn't listening," he said plainly. Sasuke and Sakura shook their heads in embarrassment. Their teammate was as annoying as always while Kakashi laughed awkwardly from his spot on the wall. "Naruto, I asked what you can tell me about your eyes," the Hokage asked again while staring directly into Naruto's new eyes. Naruto pursed his lips and thought, "Well, I'm able to see chakra, you know. But that is a way too simple way to say it. It's like I can truly understand chakra and its place in the world," he explained lightly with a shrug. Kakashi latched onto that. "What do you mean, its place in the world?" he questioned. "Well, it's like the difference in knowing that salt is in ramen and knowing why and how much salt would make ramen taste the best," answered Naruto. While a strange way to explain it, the Hokage and Kakashi actually understood what he was getting at. Jiraiya looked like he understood and smirked in amusement at the way he tried to explain it. Sasuke and Sakura weren't even surprised that ramen came into the conversation, so they just accepted it and moved on. "If I'm really honest, I'm able to fully understand what I look at, but I'm having trouble putting it into words. Like the desk you're at, old man, it was created by water and earth chakra bound together by yang chakra," Naruto continued while pointing to the desk. "Then there's the faint traces, almost impossible for me to see, of the same chakra that exists naturally in the world around us flowing through the wood. I guess since Old Man first had the ability of wood style, that's where it came from. He really must have been incredible." Everyone was spellbound at the insight Naruto was given by his eyes, most particularly Jiraiya, who had experience with teaching a person with tremendous eye powers. These abilities aren't too dissimilar from the Rinnegan that Nagato possessed. He too was able to perceive and understand chakra. There is a test to see just how similar he thought before moving over to Kakashi. I need chakra paper. I know someone eclectic as you would carry some around. Kakashi didn't really get why, but he handed the small stack of chakra papers he had over to Jiraiya. The sage moved over to the 3 genin and handed one to each of them. Sakura, if you would be so kind, please push chakra into that paper. Jiraiya instructed the girl, who did so curiously. A moment later and the paper crumbled into dust. An affinity to earth jutsu, very nice, something you and I share. Sasuke, please, he gestured to the Uchiha, who looked at his paper intensely. After a moment, instead of bursting into flame, his paper crinkled. Huh. Kakashi mused from the wall. Interesting. Sasuke looked down in melancholy. It would explain his issues with using the fireball jutsu in his younger years when learning from his father. Seems he just wasn't as inclined to fire as the rest of his clan, as much as him, and that made him look lesser to his father at the time. Lightning, interesting for an Uchiha, but with your teacher it may be a blessing, mentioned Jiraiya with a thumb pointed to Kakashi. Then he turned to Naruto, the real reason he asked for the papers. The Rinnegan gave the user completely malleable chakra able to utilize all 5 elements, as if each were the primary affinity. He and everyone looked at Naruto as he held up his paper. After a second, Naruto grinned fiercely, and the paper began to glow a subtle blue. He turned his head to look over at Jiraiya and waved the paper happily. Ha! I broke your little test. Jiraiya felt his body weaken at the unique reaction. Never in his life had he seen something like that. No one had no affinity. Nagato's paper had a reaction of all the elements at the same time before turning into a strange black metal. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan to look at the paper, and Hiruzen was frowning as he looked on, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. Just kidding! Laughed Naruto, and in the next moment the paper sliced in half. Wind! Muttered Jiraiya in shock, then he glared at Naruto. What did you do, brat? He demanded, as that earlier reaction to his chakra wasn't natural. Naruto threw the scraps away with a shrug. Oh, well, I was watching when Sasuke and Sakura used their paper and noticed what was happening. The paper is so sensitive that even the faintest trace of elemental chakra cause a reaction, yeah? So I removed any and all elemental traces from my chakra, he explained happily with a grin and an amused glint in his glowing eyes. Kakashi felt himself get a bit lightheaded. The level of control needed, he said in astonishment. The Hokage was feeling similar to Kakashi. He grabbed a chakra paper and tried to do the same. After several moments, when he felt he may have succeeded, the paper burst into flames, showing his fire affinity. Not even I could do it, he hummed. Jiraiya didn't bother trying himself. If Sensei couldn't do it, then no one alive could do it. Maybe Tsunade, as she is intimately familiar with her chakra and she never spent much time learning elemental jutsu. But that's beside the point. Both she and Sensei have literal decades dedicated to learning and perfecting their chakra control. Naruto did it on a whim to mess with me. I think I'm understanding just what he's capable of now. Last test, and this will seal it. The sage walked up to Naruto, who looked up at him curiously. Everyone in the room watching curiously. Do this, Jiraiya demanded as he held up his palm and created a perfect Rasengan. Hiruzen and Kakashi connected the dots and felt sweat build on their heads at Jiraiya's implication with this test. If Naruto succeeded, then that would mean he had literally infinite potential with chakra, internally and externally. Naruto stared at the orb and felt himself be drawn in almost hypnotically. It was incredibly dense, and was made up of hundreds of streams of rotating chakra. The orb was completely self-sustaining and would likely pack quite the punch on whoever was so unfortunate to be on the receiving end. He could tell this would be an incredibly difficult jutsu to learn. It just required too much to focus on and control to create, likely taking months of practice to get it to the level of being usable in battle. Whoever designed such a jutsu was on a whole other level in terms of smarts and ingenuity. Yeah, give me a second. Naruto cupped his hands and focused hard, looking directly at the jutsu, then back to his hands. After a moment it started to form. It was slow and sloppy, barely held the proper form at first, as wisps of chakra were leaking out of it at first. It was slow, taking well over a minute to create, but after a moment it was done. Naruto extended his hand right next to Jiraiya's, and the two orbs of destructive chakra danced next to each other almost identically save for color. Jiraiya's held a small faintest tinge of red at the outermost layer, as his natural chakra color made itself known, while the other, Naruto's, was a deep blue with a white core similar to his eyes in color. That's... Kakashi exclaimed in shock. He couldn't even put it into words. The Hokage had long since put his smoking pipe down lest he drop it on his stack of papers. Neither could form into words the implications of what they were looking at. Sasuke had his Sharingan active and was unable to copy the jutsu. Sakura frowned as she watched. She recognized the Rasengan from the textbooks and knew just how absurd the feat Naruto just accomplished was. Naruto drained the chakra from the orb and put his hand back down. I think that was the perfect jutsu for me. I've got some interesting ideas from it, he said happily. He never considered chakra manipulation like that, which made him think he was thinking too small on what he should start learning for jutsu. Jiraiya let go of the orb and rubbed his eyes. Naruto, you didn't copy it similar to the Sharingan, did you? To me it seems as if you just instinctively know how to use chakra at near perfect levels. That and your ability to see and comprehend chakra was what enabled you to create a Rasengan after just learning of the jutsu. Correct? He asked, already suspecting it to be the truth. Pretty much yeah. Naruto said happily. You know, you're making it easier for me to understand these eyes. I know what they can do, but I don't really get it. But I'm getting it now. Hiruzen latched onto that with a smirk. You were a truly terrible academy student, Naruto. He said, lightly, getting snorts from Sasuke and Sakura, who knew firsthand how true that was. I believe you both know the best path forward for Naruto's training? He asked towards Jiraiya and Kakashi. Both of them nodded with a small snort of amusement. Oh yeah? Asked Naruto. What's that? Kakashi walked forward and patted Naruto on the head. You need to study. You have a fundamental lack of knowledge which is impacting your understanding of your newfound awareness thanks to those eyes. Speaking of which, we'll have to name them. It's a new bloodline after all. I don't know, Kakashi. You know who had the worst naming sense I've ever known, and if Naruto is anything. Jiraiya laughed, but he was interrupted by Naruto, who was staring past everyone out the window behind the Hokage's desk with a serious expression on his face. The Six Eyes, he declared, causing a shiver to some in the room. In my heart I know that they are called the Six Eyes. I figured that would be the case. Mused Hiruzen. Similar to other bloodlines that could be named one thing or the other, there is always the true name that people who awaken them instinctively know. Lava style rather than magma is one, boil style and steam style both being their own branches. Everything has a true name, and it would seem that the Six Eyes are no different. Very well, then Naruto will heretofore be known as the first user of the Six Eyes bloodline, declared the Hokage, settling the issue. That being said, news will spread on its own due to Chunin exams, but until that is the case, I urge everyone not to mention them to anyone that doesn't already know about them, much less their abilities. Sasuke, you understand the danger of being one of the only users of an ocular jutsu. Sasuke frowned and gave the Hokage a nod in affirmation. When he was younger, he always had an Anbu's shadow for the sole reason of protecting him from kidnappers and thieves. Security was tight for people like him ever since the Cloud incident with the Hyuga. Naruto laughed and waved a hand. Don't worry about that, I'm plenty strong enough to take care of some small fry going for my eyes. Please spread word of my awesome abilities, he demanded with a devilish grin and arms spread. He got dead eyes from his teammates in response, making him sweat drop. While Jiraiya and Kakashi just ignored him. That concludes everything I wanted to go over, Hiruzen announced, subtly hinting for them to leave. I had a question, Naruto said simply with a hand raised. What are we gonna do about the snake girl? She was the one to mark Sasuke with the evil mark that's actively trying to poison him. Jiraiya stepped forward and whacked Naruto on the head lightly. Leave that to us. That girl was in fact my old teammate in disguise, Orochimaru, who's perhaps the most dangerous traitor the Leaf has. I bet I could beat him now, Naruto responded without acknowledging the smack. Speed, strength and a Rasengan won't be enough to do that, and we don't want him going for your eyes, responded Jiraiya seriously, now starting to understand how deep Naruto's ego ran. Naruto shrugged without care. Pretty sure the fourth became feared above all others with those three things. But whatever, I'll step in if it gets bad, he declared before turning around leaving the office. The rest of the room watched him leave dumbly. Sasuke and Sakura decided to follow his lead after bowing to the Hokage. After the three genin were gone, Kakashi turned to the Hokage and Jiraiya seriously. How could this have happened? He asked, voicing the thoughts of the other two without knowing. Jiraiya shook his head. No idea, there's never been a concrete reason for bloodlines existing. The Byakugan and Sharingan have been around for thousands of years, so their origin is nearly unknown. The first Hokage's wood style was said to be a mutation unique to him as a result of his titanic life force, and the Senju family's affinity to earth and water. Hiruzen stood and looked over to the pictures on the wall, particularly of the fourth Hokage. Naruto hails from a very esteemed bloodline in Kushina, the only daughter of the Uzumaki clan's main bloodline in that generation, and was a distant cousin to Mito, who hailed from the same family. Both were born with powerful chakra that allowed them to subdue even the Nine Tails. But that isn't the only family Naruto was born from. Are you suggesting that Sensei's family had the Six Eyes? Kakashi questioned incredulously. No, that's not possible, Jiraiya said with a shake of his head. Hiruzen raised his hand to stop them. No, not in the way you're both thinking. First, we know nothing of Minato's family. He was an orphan from the Second War as far as we were able to trace. No, I mean that Minato was always able to understand things quickly, and for a person without the Sharingan he was able to perfectly move and react at immense speeds. It could be that his unique natural talents and Kushina's immense chakra power merged into what has been born into the Six Eyes that Naruto has awakened. We also shouldn't completely ignore the presence of the Nine Tails in both Kushina and Naruto. The third Hokage sat into his chair tiredly. At the end of the day, mutations becoming bloodlines is something no one really understands. Orochimaru drove himself insane trying to understand the world because of things like this. He sighed. At the end of the day, the how doesn't exactly matter, Jiraiya said with a sigh. What's left is to see where Naruto goes from here. We don't have to worry about his potential anymore. I don't think anyone has been born with more than him. Kakashi nodded, agreed. With all this taken care of, I'm going to be taking Sasuke to train for the month. He needs to be ready for Gaara," he said before leaving the office. The room was silent for a moment before Jiraiya spoke. "It could be him, sensei," Jiraiya said, full of melancholy. "The child of prophecy, Nagato, was killed, as was Minato. Perhaps it is Naruto who has the best of both worlds. Powerful eyes, immense power, and Minato and Kushina's spirit." Hiruzen gazed at his former student fondly. "Perhaps you are correct. Good luck with him," he added lightly. 1 month later, Chunin Exams Arena. Naruto walked through the tunnel leading to the open area where the finals would take place. In the last month, it wouldn't be small to say that he had changed in incredible ways. He, at the demands of Jiraiya and the Hokage, was forced to speed every morning, pouring through textbooks that he pointedly ignored during his time in the academy. Though a benefit they learned of the 6 eyes was increased processing power for his brain, with that he finished his required readings after the second week. From that, it was just practicing taijutsu maneuvers to get his body up to the required level of a Chunin. By Jiraiya's estimate, he had the raw skill of an experienced genin rather than a Chunin hopeful like he was expected to have. Again, with practice and training, he mastered the Leaf Village's basic forms, Jiraiya's personal advanced steps, and several grappling techniques that he found interesting. Without chakra enhancement, and his eyes closed, he was at a solid Chunin level in raw skill, which was a drastic increase. Naruto smiled as he looked around. While not completely off, with these glasses on, he was able to limit the amount of input his eyes gave him. This way he could do things like eat dinner, walk around the village, and water his garden without the constant stream of information his eyes allowed. It didn't tire him out or cause him headaches or anything, just a bit annoying sometimes when he just wants to relax and enjoy his ramen, in addition to his sparkling blue glasses that mirrored the color of his eyes. He changed up his outfit as the colors and style clashed something fierce. Instead, he opted for a slightly oversized black, almost blue-tinted jumper, over a black shirt with similar pants. The shins weren't taped down like most, as he didn't mind the bagginess, then typical shinobi sandals to round it out. In Jiraiya's own words, he didn't look like a moron anymore, which actually meant he looked good. That was something he learned about Jiraiya as well. The guy was a right taskmaster and refused to hand out even the slightest compliment. It was so bad that Naruto had to compliment himself during training to combat this. Jiraiya seemed to be flustered by this, as he would scowl in the direction of the forest sometimes. All in all, if Naruto were to be completely honest, he didn't think anyone in the village would be much of a challenge anymore. He had, thanks to learning the Rasengan, devised a couple of interesting techniques that bolstered his already incredible ability to insane heights. Reaching the end of the tunnel, he noticed that other than Sasuke and that sound guy with the bandages, he was the last to arrive. Everyone turned to him and had various reactions to his new appearance. Most were just curious at the change. Naruto grimaced a bit but didn't say anything. The guy with the cough was gone, and now it was someone else. "Hey, oral fixation, where's bronchitis?" he asked, interrupting everyone from their thoughts. Most of the genin's sweat dropped at his lack of respect, while Genma felt his eye twitch. "Things change, I'm the proctor today. Also, don't call me that. My name is Genma." Sure, strange guy." Naruto waved him off and stood to the side, smiling at his to-be opponent Niji Hyuga. After a bit, Genma touched his ear and nodded. "Got it," he said lightly. "Slight change of the order. Sasuke is running late, so his fight is to be pushed to the last of the first round. Niji and Naruto, you're up." Genma then announced the same loudly for the crowd, who had various reactions to the news of the last Uchiha. Sakura sat down with a worried frown on her face. This was the out of character for Sasuke, although very in character for her sensei. She really hoped that it was his fault they were late, and not that the tardiness was rubbing off on Sasuke. She looked down at the crowd of genin and felt a slight longing to be a part of the group fighting for promotion. In the last month she had been training very hard, with Naruto of all people, or she assumed it was him, and not a clone. She was learning the basic form of chakra enhancement from him, as well as how to convert her chakra into earth-natured chakra. Jiraiya, who was training Naruto, even gave her some pointers and jutsu scrolls with low-level beginner elemental jutsu for the earth style. That, mixed with her daily dedication to physical conditioning, put her several levels above where she was at the start of the exams. She actually felt like she could have competed now. If only Kakashi had taken the time to train her like this prior to the exams. "Where's Sasuke?" asked Ino as she sat next to her. Sakura observed her rival and felt that she wasn't the only one who busted their ass training in the last month. Her chakra felt different, and she held herself with far more poise than before. "No idea, I'm sure it's Kakashi-sensei's fault. He couldn't arrive on time without a blade to his throat," she complained with a sigh. A booming laugh came from behind her. Team Gai Sans Niji were all seated there to watch the finals. "My eternal rival is always so hip and cool, he never arrives on time," he gushed and complained at the same time somehow. Lee was fired up at his mentor's words, while Tenten just sighed with an amused smile at the usual antics of her team. "Yosh! With that announcement, it's going to be Niji's turn," proclaimed Lee with excitement. Tenten turned to Lee. "You think he has a chance against Naruto Uzumaki?" she asked. "If he continues to fight with the flames of youth that Gai-sensei taught us, then he will have a great showing," Lee said with a raised fist. his movements a bit sluggish as he was still feeling the effects of the gate. Guy looked down as the genin not fighting were sent to their own observation area, leaving only Naruto and Neji with Genma on the field. He was confident that in raw fighting capability there weren't any genin and few chunin that Neji wouldn't be able to beat after the month of training he just put the team through. But he's keenly aware that Naruto Uzumaki wasn't a normal person anymore. Just the way the blonde was standing there, a picture of supreme confidence. His showing against Kiba, the flare of chakra during the second exam, and his insight he showed during the prelims led Guy to believe that Naruto was more akin to a jonin than chunin. He just hoped that Neji was able to show his ability in the fight. He was confident in all three of his students' abilities, but he was also realistic. Naruto stood across from Neji with a smile, his glasses twinkling in the sunlight. Neji seemed serious and ready to fight. He wasn't planning on smashing him right away, as that wouldn't be very sporting. So he would play defense at the start and let the Hyuga dictate the pace. Begin! The crowd roared in excitement as the finals were started. Neji wasted no time and activated his Byakugan, veins bulging around his eyes as the bloodline flared to life. Naruto looked over his glasses at the activation curiously. The way the chakra coalesced around his eyes and brain from the Byakugan was quite interesting. He wanted to continue looking at them, but the fight started, meaning he should pay attention to Neji. Oh well, time to get to it. Neji's chakra flared throughout his body, and he shot forward with great speed. His movements honed even further than they were a month ago under the tutelage of his sensei Guy, and his control over his chakra internally channeled far better than ever before. As soon as he was within range, he jabbed forward with a palm thrust that Naruto leaned away from. Another was similarly avoided. Every time an attack would come, Naruto would dance around it with minimal wasted movement. Neji started to flood his body with even more chakra, more than he could readily control. It gave him a bigger boost, but he was being drained even quicker due to the leakage. Naruto felt he'd shown his ability to move well enough and decided to respond. Neji's palm thrust was caught by Naruto's palm, who then pulled Neji off balance and slammed a ruthless fist into his face, knocking him into the air. Naruto, who was still holding his hand from the palm thrust, yanked his arm, causing him to spin midair but not fly further away. Quickly, Naruto spun in place and landed a devastating kick on Neji that sent him tumbling away till he stopped on the ground, wincing from the pain. Naruto started to limber up in place as he waited for Neji to pull himself together and re-engage him. Neji got to his feet and continued the fight. Hayashi Hyuga watched the battle between his nephew and the blonde Uzumaki with a fierce glare on his face, which wasn't really out of place for him. He didn't like the way his incredibly talented nephew was being treated like an unskilled child in front of the whole village and foreign contingent. That being said, he wasn't all that surprised. He and the other clan heads were made aware of the new situation with Naruto about a week ago, when the questions regarding the chakra pulse during the exams made the Hokage finally make them aware of what happened. He and several of the others had demanded Naruto's presence to see for themselves, but the messenger shinobi was denied by the blonde, and when he was sent back, was sent packing by the boy all the way to the infirmary. All they got out of the Hokage was that Naruto's new bloodline, the Six Eyes, were a terribly powerful ocular jutsu that would give anyone a run for their money. Next to Hayashi, his youngest daughter looked him with a frown, her Byakugan active to better see the fight. Father, why does that boy Naruto possess an ocular jutsu? His clan's name is Uzumaki, and they aren't known for such things, she asked. Hayashi could only spare her a glance. He recently awakened the genetic mutation that has been called the Six Eyes. No one is really sure where they came from, but such is the case with new bloodlines. Hanabi didn't really know anything about new bloodlines, but was a bit hesitant to ask more of her father while he was so focused on the match. She wished her big sister was here. She would have explained it and answered all of her questions. Sakura couldn't really say she was all that surprised by the turn of events. Naruto had honestly been faster in the forest. Not to mention, she knew that he was improving his overall skills at taijutsu, which in turn made him drastically better overall. Also, she was intimately familiar with his improvement of raw skill, as she was his sparring partner during the month. Lee, on the other hand, was cheering his head off for Neji, likely feeling kinship with the Hyuga now that he was the underdog against a bloodline user. "You can do it, Neji! Let the power of hard work and youth explode!" cheered Lee with tears falling from his eyes. Everyone in the stands looked at him with blank expressions before turning to Guy, hoping he would rein in his genin. "Yes, let the springtime of youth explode, Neji!" cheered Guy, who was also crying. "What did I expect?" were the collective thoughts of everyone in the audience. Naruto was genuinely enjoying himself as he slapped away Neji's latest attack. His movements were impressive. Unfortunately, the fight had been going for a while and Neji hadn't really landed any attacks, so he knew that the crowd was getting bored. As Neji tumbled back, he felt frustration overtake his calm. When he looked up to his opponent, instead of Naruto passively standing around waiting for him to attack once again, he saw the blonde moving towards him at frightening speeds. Knowing that he had no other option, Neji flared his chakra and began spinning quickly, utilizing one of the Hyuga's prized jutsu, rotation. A large spinning dome of chakra burst into life, forming a nigh-impenetrable barrier around Neji, the Hyuga's ultimate defense. Naruto's eyes widened and his face lit up with a savage grin at the challenge. He burst forward at speeds that only a select few watching could see and appeared above the spinning dome with his right hand hovering over the dome. To those who knew anything about the jutsu rotation, they knew that the only way to overcome it was to back off till it was finished, which was usually a couple seconds. For Naruto, he felt a more amusing way to overcome it would be to overtake the power of the rotation and cancel it out with ruthless efficiency. The amount of power and precision to do such a thing was likely only possible for him, but he didn't care since he is him. Niji, who was mid-spin, felt his whole body come to a complete stop and his body rattle from the rapid deceleration. His Byakugan was the only reason he wasn't completely disoriented and knew what had just happened. Naruto overcame his clan's perfect defense, something that quite literally has never happened. Knowing that he needed to get away, he rolled and got to his feet, then hopped further away to gain distance. Naruto watched his opponent back away lazily, might as well show off a ranged attack. I know I need to prove a wide range of abilities to get promoted. I certainly didn't have a good showing in the first part with that written test. Thanks to the Rasengan, Naruto's idea of what was a potential jutsu was expanded, and he had a whole month to experiment. For someone who could get the Rasengan down in a few minutes, that was plenty of time to try a variety of things. Thanks to Naruto's study into chakra and all sorts of theoretical chakra mechanics over the month, he learned all sort of things. It is said that the tailed beast's palm, their strongest attack, is formed by a perfect ratio of positive and negative chakra hyper-condensed together. Yeah, not exactly helpful outside of academic research for most, as it was practically impossible to separate chakra at that level for normal people. But Naruto has already proven he wasn't normal. Naruto raised a finger, and a smile slowly spread across his face. By molding my chakra and forming it with primarily positive chakra, compacting it and coalescing it into a compact ball, I can make something quite powerful. Surrounding the compacted orb of positive chakra with a shell of negative chakra to hold it together, further building the volatility. The reaction is quite something, Naruto thought as a small glowing orb of blood-red chakra was gathered on the tip of his finger. It gave off an eerie glow even in the harsh sunlight. Chakra Enhancement Jutsu, Red. Naruto intoned as the orb cracked and the power burst forth towards Niji. The shockwave from the attack was so powerful that those in the crowd were unable to move in their seats as the force pushed them further into the chairs. Genma flashed away from the arena to a position behind Naruto to escape, while Niji, who was the target of the attack, could only try and use rotation with all his power. "Father!" shouted Hanabi in shock as she tried to cover her face from the wind. She had been on the edge of her seat as her cousin was mercilessly beaten down by the blonde. Now she was actually scared for herself. Hayashi grit his teeth tightly, in both anger and fear, as his Byakugan showed him just how terrible this attack from Naruto was and how close it came to obliterating Niji. It was only thanks to Niji pushing every drop of chakra into a desperate rotation that he was still alive and not a stain on the arena wall. He felt even more anger when he saw the clear amusement on Naruto's face as he lazily watched the fallout from his attack. It was bad enough that the brat effortlessly overcame their rotation in the first place, now he was displaying jutsu strong enough to be classified as A-class on a whim. That boy was no genin. "It's over, no one is injured. Hanabi, settle down," he commanded. Sakura had thought she couldn't be surprised by Naruto anymore, but then he blew up half the arena and she had to shield herself from the debris as dust and dirt flew everywhere. Next to her, Ino, Choji, Kiba and Hinata were doing the same. Guy grimaced as he watched the jutsu die down. Next to him, Lee and Tenten shouted in worry for Niji. He'd never seen that jutsu before nor anything really like it, so he'd assumed that it was either an ability granted to him by his eyes, or he created it himself with the help of his eyes. Likely an A-class jutsu in pure destructive capability, as well as chakra consumption. If he weren't so confident in Niji's rotation, he too would have feared for his student's life. Just what was Naruto thinking, firing something of that magnitude off at a comrade? "Wow! That was way stronger than I was expecting," laughed Naruto as he stared at the fallout of the jutsu. There was a large trench gouged into the earth in front of him all the way to the wall. The leaves on all the trees in the direction of the attack were blasted off and all the grass was torn up. In front of the wall, Niji was heavily panting inside a small circle where his rotation protected him from the blast. The wall itself had a large crater at the center with a large web of cracks spreading out dozens of meters. "I didn't put my all into that. I could have made it much stronger. If I were to estimate, I'd say that was about 40% of the power I could safely put into Red at this moment." I had a feeling that Niji would have been able to block that much with the remaining chakra in his system and his skill with rotation. "Hopefully we both look good enough to pass with that." Naruto pushed his glasses back into place and walked over to Niji with a happy little skip. "Niji, that was a good fight, but I win," he declared with a grin and a thumbs up. "Hey! Oral fixation, call the match, he's out of juice," Naruto yelled to Genma, who had been following behind him towards Niji. His eye twitched at the name, but he didn't disagree with the blonde and called the match in his favor. Naruto soaked up the attention of the crowd, feeling all sorts of things from all the people watching, such as admiration, excitement, unease, and fear. But what won out was excitement as they roared with approval at the match they just got to watch. Instead of going to where the rest of the competitors were, Naruto shot up to the roof of the left building that overlooked the Chunin exams arena. The rightmost building was where the dignitaries sat, as it was the one with the most shade from the sun. The center were where the Hokage and Kazekage sat with their guard, and the left building were where everyone else sat. On the roof of the left building, sitting by himself, was Jiraiya, sipping on a bit of sake as he lounged under an umbrella to shade himself from the harsh sun. He acknowledged Naruto with a nod. "Old man Jiraiya," greeted Naruto with a grin. "What did you think?" "I tried to make it look as good as possible for both of us to get promoted," Jiraiya hummed as he poured more sake into a saucer. "I think you may have drawn it out a bit too long, but no one will hold that against you for making it more of a show in this context. After all, excitement equals more business for the village," he explained, then took another sip of sake. "I would say that both of you have a very good chance of promotion. Niji didn't get to show off much strategy since he couldn't really do all that much against you. Again, I don't think Sensei will hold it against him. I made him very aware of how strong you are." Naruto chuckled hearing that and leaned back onto his elbows next to Jiraiya. "Oh yeah?" Naruto asked lightly. He'd be very curious about that conversation. Jiraiya flicked Naruto on the head. "I'm not adding to that ego by telling you that. You think well enough of yourself already, brat," he said with a twitching eye. Jiraiya's attention was drawn back to the arena floor. "I believe even within the first few moments of this match, the Nara has shown strategic thinking on par with any Chunin. He'll most likely be promoted," Jiraiya said with an impressed look on his face. Naruto gazed down at the match. The Wind Girl was pretty good, and Shikamaru was managing to stay a couple steps ahead, keeping him in the fight despite his lack of offensive power. His shadow manipulation could be far better, Naruto commented lightly while looking at the shadow stretching across the ground speeding towards the Wind Girl. "He has a far better grasp on it than his ability would suggest. It's like he's putting barely any effort into commanding the shadow." Then he tilted his head thoughtfully. "You know what? That's pretty on brand for Shikamaru now that I'm thinking about it." Jiraiya snorted in amusement. "Yeah, he's the Jonin Commander Shikaku's son. That man wouldn't get out of bed if his wife wasn't there to nag him," he said with a laugh. "Not surprised his son has a general lack of urgency at this age." "Shikamaru's dad is that important, huh?" Naruto said in wonder. He was aware that his father was the clan head of the Nara clan, but he didn't know he also held a position of importance of that level. "Yeah, Shikaku Nara, he's one of the most brilliant minds to ever grace the village. In terms of pure strategic thinking, he's likely the best," responded Jiraiya. Naruto turned to him curiously. "Even better than old man Hokage, you and Kakashi-sensei?" Jiraiya barked out a laugh. "Me? I'm no strategist. I wouldn't call myself dumb, but I'm more of a solo act and can adapt better than most to a variety of circumstances. But commanding others isn't really my forte. Kakashi is an excellent mission leader, but he's never had to effectively lead more than a handful of shinobi. I would say Sensei is a close second, with an elder by the name of Danzo in third. Both of them have experience leading large numbers effectively and winning battles without having to be there in person. That's what it means to be a true strategist, using what's available to you to achieve the best outcome without having to be there." Naruto hummed in thought. "Then I'm not much of a strategist," he mused simply. Jiraiya shook his head. "You and I are similar in that regard. We're solo acts, able to adapt to any situation and come out favorably, but not really suited to leading great numbers without being in the front," he replied. Down below, gasps were heard as Shikamaru had effectively ensnared the Wind Girl, with his shadow capturing her and securing the victory. Naruto fell over laughing when, instead of accepting the win, he decided to forfeit, saying he was out of chakra. "He's still got plenty," laughed Naruto. Jiraiya started laughing after hearing that. Then he just didn't want to compete anymore, just like his father. It would seem that the puppet guy had forfeited his match to Shino, which is why Shikamaru was the one to fight just now. That meant that next up was Sasuke and Gaara, to which the former still wasn't here yet. Naruto frowned at that, wondering why Kakashi and Sasuke would be so late to arrive to something this important. Jiraiya looked to the sky with a sigh. "While we're waiting, I should tell you something. That Gaara, he's like you. He holds the one-tailed beast within him. I was able to confirm it during our month of training." "Why tell me?" asked Naruto with a frown. Jiraiya sighed. "Just in case things go south with this match, I want you to know what's really going on. I believed it was a bloodline similar to the fourth Kazekage that allowed him to manipulate sand, but it's a byproduct of having the demon sealed within him. And all I got from the Nine Tails was the hatred and fear of my countrymen." Naruto commented lightly, hiding just how much it still stung thinking back to his childhood. Jiraiya just looked away, not wanting to respond to that. Down below, the crowd was growing restless at having to wait for Sasuke to show up for the exams to continue. Naruto frowned as a thought occurred to him, his brain processing information at speeds unrivaled by anyone thanks to the Six Eyes. "Why do you think Puppet Guy surrendered without a fight?" Naruto asked suddenly. "It doesn't make sense, right? Sure, it's not a terribly great matchup for him, but he's still trying to be promoted here." Jiraiya looked over at him with a frown. "Who knows? I've long given up trying to understand greenhorns," he said offhandedly. Naruto sat forward and leaned over his crisscrossed legs with a frown. "Or, would it make sense to not want to show off his puppets in front of so many people?" he mused. "Exactly, he likely doesn't want to show his hand to everyone here," replied Jiraiya with a disinterested hand wave. Naruto rubbed his chin and thought, I suppose, but do you think he has some sort of ulterior motive for the exam? Wondered Naruto. The puppet kid? Jiraiya asked incredulously while pointing in the direction of said person lamely. Naruto glared at him. I see what you mean, you really aren't a great strategist. No. I mean the Sand Ninja. He is one of them if you haven't noticed. Naruto explained with an eye roll. Jiraiya frowned and turned his attention to his sensei as he sat speaking to the Kazekage in their booth. There wasn't much to how they were interacting and the Kazekage had his face coverings on, so he wasn't really sure what was going on. Though he doubted it was much fun over there. Raza isn't the type to wage war with the only ally he has, he said lowly, his tone becoming thoughtful. I don't think the Sand Village is in any place to wage war. They aren't exactly at full power these days. Naruto shrugged. If there was one thing he was still pretty ignorant about, it was the current situation of the world at large. His last month of learning helped him with the general information but not the latest stuff. With that in mind, he decided to defer to Jiraiya and lean back on his elbows. Still pretty odd, you know? Genmao was at the end of his rope. Between the constant stream of displeasure aimed at him from the crowd and the arguing from the shinobi side on whether or not to disqualify Sasuke Uchiha or not, he was about to decide himself and take the punishment. Somehow, as the face to the finals to the crowd, he was getting the feeling that they thought he was the person at fault here. Gaara was already standing at the ready. His gourd full of sand was already open, and around him was a thin wispy cloud of sand that didn't really justify the danger of the boy's jutsu. He hoped that whoever faced him was up to the challenge, or they just had Naruto fight him, would likely settle it without much issue. Genma, we have given him as much time as possible, you may move on. Genma sighed as orders from up top came into his earpiece. Seems even the last Uchiha didn't have an infinitely long rope. Right as he was about to speak, a burst of smoke exploded next to him. The crowd gasped while he rolled his eye. This had Kakashi written all over it. The smoke cleared to show Kakashi standing in the same laid-back manner, while Sasuke was clearly ready to fight. Curiously, Sasuke's attire had changed into an all-black jumpsuit with white bandages around his left arm. Maybe Team 7 had a joint shopping trip to get new looks. I really hope we're not too late, Kakashi asked worriedly with a nervous smile. Sasuke next to him bristled but didn't talk. Genma shook his head with an amused smile. Right on time, I was about to disqualify you, he replied. The usually stoic Uchiha had a small smile on his face hearing he was still in it. Before anyone could add anything else, Naruto appeared next to them with a wave. Yo! You're late, ya bastard! Laughed Naruto as he moved forward. I was sure that Kakashi-sensei's lateness rubbed off on you. The man in question let out an awkward chuckle while he rubbed his neck. Sasuke stared at him for a moment then smirked. You won, right? Of course. Good, I'm excited to fight you. Kakashi walked forward and patted Naruto on the head. Interesting new look, Naruto. Congratulations on winning, although I can't say I'm surprised, he said offhandedly. Naruto smiled at his sensei before turning over to Gaara. Hey, Sandboy, I hope you give Sasuke a good challenge. Good luck, you two, put on a good show, he cheered before shooting off away from the arena grounds. Kakashi nodded to Sasuke. Good luck, and remember what I told you, he said seriously with a look that he didn't let up until Sasuke nodded in return. Then he left in a swirl of leaves to the stands. Genma looked between the two genin with a small feeling of unease directed towards Gaara. The guy just gave off creepy vibes. His right hand slashed through the air. Begin. Naruto landed up with Jiraiya and retook his position under the umbrella with a content smile. Sasuke became strong, he said suddenly. The movement of his chakra and the density of it has improved drastically from what it was last I saw him a month ago. Kakashi isn't one to train in half measures, Jiraiya responded. He may seem lazy, but when he gets serious there are few that train as hard as he does. Just getting him to that point lately is tough from what I hear. Naruto snorted. Yet the guy didn't exactly train us into the ground. Down below, the fight began with Sasuke shooting forward at far faster speeds than what he was capable of before. To most he was a blur that was shooting in and out of Gaara's range to pepper him with testing blows. Sasuke tried all avenues of attack, shuriken, kunai, punches and kicks, and as he expected none of them broke through the sand. Gaara soon went on the offense and sent forward a wave of sand that Sasuke had speed away from with a body flicker lest he be crushed. As soon as Sasuke stopped moving, he shot a titanic fireball forward towards Gaara. Even in the stand they felt the terrible heat of the fire jutsu as it neared Gaara. As expected, sand rushed to block the fire, and when contact was made there was a large explosion that blasted away all the loose debris in the immediate area. Sasuke's jutsu are stronger thanks to his improved chakra and control over it, commented Naruto. Jiraiya hummed. He'll need more than speed. Lee in the preliminaries was faster, and that didn't win him the match, he said seriously as he watched the young Uchiha battle with Gaara. Sasuke flipped away from sand until he was halfway up the wall of the arena. He looked down at Gaara with a frown. Nothing he did was able to really get through, and now Gaara had locked himself behind a dome of sand that he wasn't getting through with brute strength. Knowing this was the scenario he prepared for, he started flashing through seals. Oh? Naruto said lightly as the sounds of thousands of chirping birds filled the arena. Interesting, that should do it. Curious jutsu to teach a genin, Jiraiya commented lightly with a frown but didn't add more. Sakura gasped as she saw the familiar lightning jutsu, then turned to Kakashi. You taught him that jutsu from the bridge? She shouted in shock. Kakashi's eye smiled at her. It was the best way for him to penetrate the defense of Gaara. Sasuke and I are quite similar too, since we both share a lightning affinity and possess the Sharingan. It felt right teaching it to him, he said while watching Sasuke charge forward at ludicrous speeds towards Gaara. Lee in the seats next to them looked down with a frown. It took a genius like Sasuke a month to catch up to my speeds, he whispered to himself. Guy narrowed his eyes at Kakashi as he stood to his feet. After you gave me trouble for passing on the 8 gates formation. I didn't teach a genin an assassination jutsu. He reprimanded Kakashi at the hypocrisy. Kakashi only narrowed his eyes in response as he continued to observe the fight. I only really have one shot here. Need to make sure I make it count. Sasuke mentally screamed as he blitzed forward with lightning speeds and slammed his Chidori into the sand dome, causing a wave of lightning to blast out in a dome around the point of impact. The world froze for a moment before a terrible scream erupted from the sand dome. My blood! This is my blood! Screamed Gaara as shock and pain overtook his mind. The sand dome exploded outward with spikes that forced Sasuke to jump away from. With his Sharingan he noticed that there was a strange thick chakra spreading outwards from the sand as the screams grew in volume. Then everything went to hell. Naruto looked down at Gaara with his glasses held in his hands, completely exposing his glowing eyes. The 6 eyes told him what was happening with perfect clarity. He's leaking tailed beast chakra at very high levels, commented Naruto with a frown before he noticed a wave of chakra cover the entire arena all the way to him, making him feel drowsy for a moment. Genjutsu? Thought Naruto before breaking it. Jiraiya shot to his feet, and not a moment later there was an explosion from the Kage booth on the roof of the center building. Maybe you were right, shouted Jiraiya before jumping off, but not before calling out to Naruto, deal with Gaara. Naruto turned back down to the field where Sasuke was being accosted by several sand ninja. He burst forward at top speed, slamming into one of them, smashing the guy into the ground with enough force to shatter all the bones in his body, turning the ground into a blood-filled crater. Naruto slowly stood to his feet and glanced at the remaining sand ninja, making them wary. He turned to Sasuke. I'll deal with Gaara and these fools. Get out of here, commanded Naruto, and to his complete shock Sasuke actually listened. Naruto was about to engage the sand ninja when a Saban shot into the neck of the one on the left, and Genma walked up next to him. I'll take them, Gaara's all yours, said Genma with a grimace. Naruto assumed he didn't like leaving a genin to face someone like Gaara. Though in the back of Naruto's head he didn't like the thought of fighting Gaara, but he pushed that away for now. Naruto nodded to Genma, then turned and shot over to Gaara, a Rasengan forming in his hand that grew to the size of a melon in a flash. The sand dome was no match for the jutsu and was blasted open, causing massive amounts of wind and sand to fly everywhere. Naruto wasted no time and shot his arm forward to drag Gaara out of the dome and threw him away. Gaara frantically got to his feet as sand was gathering all over his body, turning the right side of his body into a grotesque clawed sand arm. His face was taking on the appearance of the One Tail as a single sandy tail waved behind him. He's half possessed already. It would be trouble if he completely turned into the One Tails in the center of the village, which must be their plan, Naruto thought as he shot forward and re-engaged Gaara with ruthless attacks. Gaara, while empowered to levels that most Chunin and Jonin would be unable to overcome, was being taken to task by Naruto with ruthless efficiency. Gaara was unable to follow the blonde's rapid attacks and felt his body take substantial damage from each blow. If he didn't have the One Tail's chakra healing him, he would have likely been killed already. Claw slash, diverted with a kick, then followed up with an uppercut to the chest. Tail slam was caught and Gaara was sent crashing into the ground. Naruto ducked under another swipe from the massive claw and sked. I know I'm hurting him. I bet he's being healed by the One Tails almost as fast as I'm injuring him. Which means I need to hurt him worse, he thought with a frown. Movement from his peripheral had Naruto jump back in time to dodge a blade of wind that shredded into the earth where he was just standing. Gaara-sensei and siblings arrived shortly after and landed around him protectively. Naruto grinned. After being so scared of him till now, all of you cowards think you'll protect him? I hate wishy-washy people like you, he said while pointing at them, his eyes glowing menacingly. Suppose I'll have to deal with all 4 of you, commented Naruto before moving to engage them. As soon as Sasuke's strike caused Gaara such terrible pain, the 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi had been in a whirlwind of motion. First the booth exploded. He had avoided the blast by jumping up, but was caught in the air by the Kazekage who held a blade to his throat. Then he realized foolishly that his student had taken the place of the Kazekage and was using the exams as a means to destroy the village. Truly, Orochimaru, I have failed you, Hiruzen said mournfully, completely unconcerned with the kunai to his throat. Behind him Orochimaru sked, having noticed the Hokage's calm aura. Foolish old man, you think you're in control here? He demanded angrily. In the instant he asked, to which Orochimaru would later admonish himself for making such a mistake, he was blasted backward into the roof tile by a release of hyper-dense chakra. If it weren't for the barrier surrounding the two of them, the ANBU watching the fight would have found themselves forced to their knees from the pressure. The 3rd Hokage of the Leaf, Hiruzen Sarutobi, The professor and proclaimed god of shinobi had activated the full weight of his chakra for the first time since the Ninetales had rampaged through the village. Orochimaru shot to his feet and grit his teeth. Surely you don't think a showing such as this would intimidate me? He demanded. I saw you in your prime, and this is a far cry from those days, sensei. Hiruzen sighed. Did I teach you nothing of looking underneath the underneath? I may be old and have lost a step in terms of chakra capacity, but did you think I would allow myself to grow weak? You're a fool if so. I bled for every bit of my strength, and I would sooner die than let it go easily, he proclaimed with a visible aura of chakra shrouding his body with fiery red wisps flailing around him. Orochimaru stood and released the full weight of his chakra in response. The purple viscous aura surrounded his body, and the roof tiles were further destroyed around them. Different from the Hokage's hyper-dense chakra, Orochimaru's was a vast lake of power that was begging to be unleashed towards his opponent. A single seal from the Hokage had a terrible river of mud blast into life to remove the snake's footing, sending him tumbling away. With another seal, the air on the roof superheated, followed by a sharp tongue of flame blasted the mud river, hardening it. 3 seals, and the Hokage slammed his palm on the roof. Chakra glowered over the mound of hardened mud that turned into a brilliant explosion where Orochimaru had been buried. In the time it would take a Jonin to cast a single B-class jutsu, the third Hokage cast it too, followed by a combination jutsu with ruthless efficiency. Such was the level skill of the once touted god of shinobi. Hiruzen glared at the smoke billowing out from the jutsu's epicenter with disgust. Get up! If that was all it took to kill you, then I'm sure you would be long dead, demanded Hiruzen as he tore his Hokage robes off to reveal his battle attire. Further away from the epicenter of the blast, Orochimaru rose from the ground looking burned but not altogether that injured. He was grinning at his sensei as if he found that show of power amusing. Perhaps you've still got some power left in that rotting carcass, sensei, mused Orochimaru before slamming his hand onto the roof for his jutsu. I had meticulously prepared this reunion for you. Please enjoy it, sensei, he said as 2 coffins rose from the ground, followed by a third that failed halfway up. Hiruzen stared at them in horror. You've defiled them. They were at peace, he whispered to himself as the dead faces of his predecessors were revealed to the world. Kakashi had known something was off today. Duck under a kick, stab a kunai into the femoral. It was odd that the Sand Village would send a Jinchuriki to a foreign country's exam when they were as unstable as Gaara. Parry a slash, then slice the throat. Now he was back in the familiar dance he mastered during the Third Great Ninja War. Next to him, Guy was smashing Sound and Sand Ninja with every punch and kick. Both of them were doing their utmost to protect the civilians that were incapacitated from the Genjutsu as well as the genin huddled that were down in the stands. Naruto is fighting Gaara, Sasuke shouted as he got back to the stands slightly out of breath. I did as you asked, and didn't fight Gaara if he went ballistic, he said with a frown while not meeting Kakashi's eyes. It was a stipulation that Kakashi imposed before their training began. In return for learning the Chidori, Sasuke would swear that should Gaara lose control of himself he would back off and surrender. Sasuke didn't really care about being promoted and just wanted to learn the jutsu, so he reluctantly agreed. Kakashi, I smiled to his pupil. Good, he should wrap it up quick. New mission for you and the others. It's A rank. I need you all to move to the academy and make sure that the students are evacuated. Sasuke, you're in charge. Shikamaru, you're second. Sakura, Kiba and Shino will accompany you, ordered Kakashi while killing yet another enemy. The academy is far enough into the village that it should be further from the main battle. They will be away from the worst of it, and still doing a vital service protecting the young ones. That being said, there is no guarantee they all survive this, thought Kakashi grimly. He hated that his students were being put into a situation such as this, but it was the life of a ninja. He was doing the best he could to put them into a favorable situation. Sasuke stared at his sensei for a moment before giving him a nod, then he turned to the others. Let's go, he ordered before jumping off, Shikamaru following him with incredible reluctance, while the others hurried to keep up. Guy looked to Lee and Tenten. Keep close. Lee, form a perimeter around the civilians and stop any who get past me and Kakashi. Tenten, long-range support, he ordered seriously, a far cry from his usual joyful personality. The two in question shot into action, showing their experience as genin. Kakashi put his back to Guy as Sound Ninja moved to surround them. This could get a bit difficult with all the civilians around. Be sure not to send them into the stands when you send them flying, Guy. It will be tough, but we can do it, Kakashi, Guy said firmly as he lowered his stance while staring at the ninja in front of him. An instant later and both shot into action, cutting and smashing their way through all the enemies. Naruto chuckled as he diverted a massive claw of sand into the ground, then kicked off it directly into a puppet. He flooded his body and arms with chakra as he crashed into it, causing the puppet to be crushed under him in multiple pieces. In the distance, the puppet boy himself was smashed into the ground by his shadow clone. Naruto didn't have time to take in the victory, as Gar shot a blast of wind and sand pellets that he was forced to avoid. The area he and the puppet had been was shredded by the attack. Naruto decided that the next problem to deal with now that the poisonous puppet was gone was the Jonin. He had been a nuisance with his attacks and hit-and-run maneuvers. Seemed none of these sand ninja were too keen to trade strikes with him. The Jonin was keeping his distance to fire off wind blades that would cut him in half had they landed. So Naruto turned and went after Wind Girl, who was peppering him with powerful gusts to take him off balance. Her eyes widened, and she moved to run, but he caught up to her before she could take a second step. Naruto kicked her in the stomach, uppercut her falling head, grabbed her arm that was reflexively sent out to restore her falling balance, took it and turned, then twisted it behind her back. Ruthless excitement filled him for the first time as he went to snap her arm. The girl let out a silent scream as he applied more and more pressure to the arm. And there he is, Naruto thought, as an arm shrouded in wind was slashed at his neck from his right side. While the Jonin wouldn't rush to Gaara's defense, Naruto assumed that he would for the other two if he were going to kill them. And he was just proven right. Naruto's arm lashed out at blinding speeds, and with chakra coated and hardened around his hand to protect him from the wind blade, he grabbed the Jonin's wrist. The shock on the Jonin's visible eye showed that he realized his mistake by rushing in. Naruto's face split into a grin and his 6 eyes glowed brighter. Baki, the Sand Jonin, was pulled forward by Naruto, and as he went to protect his face from the incoming punch, his stomach was kicked with force enough to cause him to vomit blood. Naruto didn't stop and released the wrist he was holding on to, then did a roundhouse kick into Baki's face as he was leaned over from the first kick. This isn't a very strong jutsu, but it should be enough in his current condition, thought Naruto as he pointed at Baki's body that was sent flying. Naruto formed a small spinning orb that was barely bigger than his finger. It was a mini Rasengan. While lower in power, it allowed Naruto to do something a bit different. He formed a protective coating of chakra, then blasted it forward similar to his red jutsu. Chakra technique, sinister spiraling shot. The flying Rasengan shot formed on Naruto's finger and shot towards Baki before he even landed from Naruto's roundhouse kick. Naruto watched as the projectile covered the distance and slammed into Baki's side, digging into his flesh like a superheated drill. An instant after hitting Baki, the jutsu destabilized, then exploded. Naruto's 6 eyes observed the fallout of his jutsu was perfect detail. The jutsu didn't have the raw power of a Rasengan even by half, but it was incredibly fast to make and fire, so it was more than worth it. Baki was completely taken out of the fight, quickly losing consciousness from the pain and injuries. Barely 2 minutes after joining the battle, Baki, Temari, and Kankuro were taken out. Naruto turned to Gaara, who was forming hand seals, seemingly unaffected by the defeat of his sensei and siblings. "You're pretty cold-blooded, Gaara," mused Naruto lightly. He gestured to the 3 sand ninja. "Don't mind that your family and sensei were taken down, even a little bit?" he asked. "I care for nothing but giving mother your blood." Gaara seemed to growl before his face became deranged. "Let me prove my existence," he screamed as he released a sand twister at Naruto that was destroying anything in its path. Since awakening the 6 eye, Naruto has felt content and confident in his abilities. He had an awareness of the world and chakra that filled him with a sense of self-assurance that he didn't really feel anything but amused by the people he came up against in the exams. For the first time since awakening his 6 eye, Naruto has felt something other than amusement while fighting someone. He wasn't scared, not in the slightest. No, he felt sad, because Gaara shared a burden with him. They both held a beast within them, and neither of them asked for it. He wasn't dumb, well, not anymore. He knew now that people like him were treated like trash everywhere. They were feared and loathed for the burden they carried. Gaara was like him, similar ages and likely similar upbringings, but both arrived at different conclusions. Naruto had the Ichiraka family reach their hand out that night. That cold, storming night when he was so very hungry, cold, and lonely. Then Old Man Hokage came into his life, then Iruka, then Kakashi and his teammates. Naruto held out long enough to find hands reaching out, offering him warmth and hope for a better life. Gaara, despite having a family, seemingly did not. Naruto wasn't amused to fight him. No, he was sad that he was facing what he considered a brother. Not in blood but in burden. "I'll break through, Gaara," thought Naruto. It wasn't raining. It wasn't nighttime, nor was it all that cold. But Naruto felt that Gaara needed the warmth of an extended hand that wasn't scared of him. So he'd oblige. Naruto's thoughts happened in the moments between the sand twister arriving in front of him and Naruto disintegrating it with a pulse of hyper-dense chakra blasted from his palms. Similar to the gentle fist by hundreds of times stronger. He basically slapped the jutsu away. Deciding to go on the offense, Naruto shot forward and hooked a punch into Gaara's side, then did a rising kick to his chin, launching him into the air. Naruto jumped into the air to follow him, grabbed his leg, twisted sharply, and threw Gaara into the wall of the arena with full force. Gaara's face exploded into a silent scream as his beast's chakra flared, exploding into the air, saturating the arena in its evil. Naruto moved to stop him, but a mountain of sand surrounded Gaara as he was approaching, protecting him and slowly forming into the one-tailed beast, with Gaara perched out of its forehead. At the top, Gaara performed a jutsu that switched his consciousness with the beast, letting it take control. "Oh, well, I may have taken a bit too long here," Naruto said with a nervous laugh. "I should probably pick it up now." He knew that the mere appearance of the beast was going to terrify the ninja as they fought. No one older than him had forgotten what a tailed beast could do to the village. Naruto had no desire to allow the beast to remain very long. Naruto flared all of his chakra and strengthened himself to his current limit. His eyes allowed him to see the forming of the beast's consciousness from the jutsu. It would take control in roughly 1 second. He needed to move. He knew it wouldn't be in time of its awakening, but he would beat its subsequent actions at his top speed. "Yeah! I'm free, baby!" shouted the beast, its voice so loud everyone in the village heard it. It was interrupted by a commotion on his head. Naruto landed in front of Gaara in a flash, the sand from his path running up the beast exploded from the force of his steps. He didn't hesitate as he noticed the sand was forming tentacles around Gaara to stop him from hitting its host. Naruto's fist impacted Gaara's forehead ruthlessly, waking him from this jutsu, destabilizing the fully realized beast's chakra. "No!" screamed the One-Tails as it tried to fight Gaara's returning consciousness but was failing rapidly. Every leaf ninja in the village breathed a sigh of relief as the One-Tails was sent away as fast as it arrived. The only damage it caused was from its forming along the walls of the arena. Gaara woke as he was falling and stared at Naruto in horror. "No, no, no, no! I won't let you take it away! I won't let you destroy my existence!" he shouted in terror. He was trying to call for his sand but found he was out of strength. Naruto landed on his feet as Gaara fell on his front, hitting the ground roughly. Naruto walked forward and sat down crisscross in front of him with a frown. How are you so strong?" Gaara asked in a broken voice. Naruto's eyes that usually glowed with unimaginable power were dull with sadness. As much as he enjoyed fighting and beating people, he found no joy from this victory. "It's unbearable, right?" asked Naruto with a frown. "Being alone? I know the feeling well. I was spat on, kicked, and hated for the beast within me. I was alone, and in the silence of my solitude I hated them. I hated everything. I wanted to crush them, to get back at them for treating me this way when I didn't even know why. Perhaps even a part of me still resents them," mused Naruto as the sounds of the battle sounded in the distance. Gaara listened on, enraptured by his words. "But I was saved by my friends. By those who I now hold precious to me above all else, even myself." Gaara's eyes showed his shock at those words. "It is for them that I fight so hard. I won't ever lose, and I won't ever let anything happen to them. If you or anyone else tries to harm them, I'll kill you," Naruto said with a fierce glare that shook Gaara to his core. Suddenly between Gaara and Naruto appeared 3 sets of feet. Naruto looked up to see a heavily exhausted and injured Team Baki standing in front of Gaara, warily but fully committed to protecting the downed boy. Naruto looked at them for a moment before he smiled. "I see," he said lightly as he noticed that in their eyes were no longer filled with wariness or fear of Gaara. No, in the 2 siblings there was nothing but worry and fear for him. Baki was similarly worried, like Kakashi was for them when he stood off against Zabuza. "Gaara, you have a fine team," Naruto said with a smile. "I trust that all of you will leave?" Baki nodded firmly. "Yes, the Kazekage is not leading us," he said while pointing to the barrier where Orochimaru was visibly clashing with the 3rd Hokage. "I will be signaling the retreat. Enough blood has been spilled over a vendetta that was not ours." "Then go," Naruto said, but in the next moment the full weight of his chakra bared down on them, and his eyes glowed ominously. "But know this, I will not hesitate should we face off like this again," he warned. Baki and the 2 standing siblings nodded silently, while Kankuro reached down to pick up Gaara. Gaara couldn't meet his gaze as he muttered something lowly to his team. It must have been out of character, as all 3 of them turned to him in shock before speeding off, leaving the battle. Naruto only smiled as he watched them leave. It was likely the wrong move in terms of politics, but he didn't much care about that stuff, nor would he really care what the higher-ups in the village thought. They treated him like trash for all of his life due to his status and lack of talent. He wasn't going to bend over backwards to please people like them now that they were interested in his newfound power. After all, he hated wishy-washy people like that. Oh well, time to go see if the old man needed any help. The ANBU Captain Taiga watched the battle between 3 Hokage and Orochimaru impassively, already resigned to the fact that between them was a barrier that they had no way to overcome. The battle was epic in proportions. The first Hokage's taijutsu and later wood-style jutsu were incredible to see in person, and he felt awe at the level he must have been at when he was alive if this was only a small portion of his actual strength. Then the second Hokage with water jutsu so superior to anything he's ever seen, they were monsters wearing human skin. But none of them more so than the 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, who fought both of them, and Orochimaru with only his faithful summon Monkey King Enma by his side. While the Hokage's power was holding up well enough, he was noticeably holding back from using too much ninjutsu, favoring chakra enhancement and bojutsu for the fight, though he was clearly at the end of his rope. Tiger was only thankful that the appearance of the One-Tails paused the fighting between them long enough for the Hokage to catch his breath. Though the break wasn't much, it clearly helped. "How's he holding up?" Tiger spun around at the sudden voice and was face to face with the now infamous 6 eyes that had been whispered about at ANBU headquarters. Naruto Uzumaki gazed at him dispassionately as he waited for an answer. "The battle is tough. He's favoring a direct approach to not exhaust his reserves," said Tiger as he turned back to the battle. "I don't know how long he can hold out against 2 undead Hokage on top of Orochimaru." Naruto grimaced and turned to the barrier, or rather barrier, as the 4 ninjas sustaining the barrier created one on either side of them. The barrier held properties of fire chakra in it as well as hyper-firm chakra walls. Likely anyone who physically touched the barrier would burn to death. Well, anyone that wasn't him. Naruto's 6 eyes allow him to perceive and understand chakra at a level that he could do things others only imagined. He was able to completely remove his elemental affinity from his chakra and master the highest form of shape manipulation in minutes. So with a solid coating of chakra around his body at an opposite ratio of what the barrier was comprised of allowed him to simply walk through. To the barrier that was chakra-based and static, it couldn't fight something that was its inverse. It would simply react in the inverse. So instead of a fire barrier, Naruto was faced with an opening that molded around him like water as he passed through it. The four ninjas sustaining the barrier had to grit their teeth to fight the shock that was threatening to destabilize the barrier from his actions. Naruto stayed away from the fighting for now, waiting for his opening. It was a very fast-paced battle for now. Orochimaru was hanging back while the first and second Hokage were trying to bind the third. Right as the old man burned away the approaching tree roots, Naruto shot forward and nailed the second with a kick that launched him out of the recently made forest, and moved to stand by the Hokage. "Looked like you needed help, old man," Naruto said with a grin. "These two aren't going to die or go away till Orochimaru releases the jutsu. I don't think we can disrupt this jutsu, perhaps seal it?" He mused with a frown, his eyes picking apart the jutsu with hyper-efficiency. "You shouldn't have come, Naruto," Hiruzen said with a tired sigh, seemingly resigned to the situation. "The second Hokage's jutsu can only be cancelled by the caster or sealed. I only have one jutsu that fits the criteria in this situation." Naruto turned to look at him. "What's the plan, old man?" he asked. Hiruzen glanced at him before gripping his staff firmly. "You will stay back and provide support at range and nothing else." Orochimaru made himself known at this point. "Ah, young Naruto, welcome," he shouted gleefully. "I simply must bring you home with me. Those eyes of yours are a scientific marvel I'm oh so curious to research." Naruto turned to him with a disgusted frown. "Oi! I have no intention of going with you. You're lucky the old man won't let me kill you," he shouted back. "Enough!" the third shouted before he rushed at the first Hokage, who mirrored his movements. Naruto watched impassively as the old man made easy work of the first with his staff, the range and power of it allowing him to easily dispatch the revived Hokage. It was like the old man was capable of shredding the wood with no effort with the speed in which he dispatched every jutsu the first sent at him. The second wasn't going to sit out of the fight as he weaved a single seal to produce a massive water dragon that raised the humidity in the barrier tenfold. Naruto watched as the chakra in the air folded in on itself hundreds of times over, utilizing the water in the air to form massive amounts of water for the jutsu. He didn't think he'd have been capable of ever doing something like that if he didn't have the six eyes. Seeing the wood style in person also showed him the depth of power the first Hokage had at his disposal. Witnessing these feats of strength from the three Hokage in front of him led Naruto to understand something. He wasn't the strongest, not yet. As he was now, Naruto was supremely confident in his ability to fight anyone. He was sure that he wouldn't lose to Orochimaru even, but seeing the Hokage fight, at weakened levels as well, showed him that the summit of power he would need to reach to be called the strongest was still above him. That wasn't to say as they are now too strong to jump in. No, the old man was likely capable of beating him with his sheer jutsu knowledge and adaptability, but Naruto had things that no one else had: complete unpredictability. Mix that with his six eyes and he wasn't going to be ignored. Naruto flared chakra within his body to the max that his body could withstand. He'd said to himself as the power flowing through him was a bit heavy on his muscles and he could tell he was pushing them to the max. Hiruzen spun his staff at immense speeds around himself as he severed all the incoming roots. The instant the wood was taken care of, Hiruzen jumped straight up, flashed two one-handed hand seals and released a compacted stream of lightning towards the second Hokage who was building up water for a jutsu. Hiruzen didn't bother to watch the jutsu as he extended the staff towards the first Hokage as the dead ninja was rushing to attack. Before Hiruzen could do anything more than slam the first Hokage into the roof with his staff, a blur came into the fight. The first Hokage, after getting smashed into the ground, was attacked by Naruto. The first Hokage quick responded to the blonde, some of his body reforming under the effects of the reanimation jutsu. Naruto ducked under a kick, lashed out with a jab that was caught by the first. Naruto's eyes narrowed in response. As his fist was caught by the first, the dead Hokage lashed out with his own punch that Naruto caught. He noticed with his eyes that the first was using chakra enhancement different than normal. As he caught the dead Hokage's punch, he felt the effects, as he was nearly blasted away from the Hokage from the sheer force of the punch. He's never experienced that level of power. He doubtedly with the fifth gate open hit that hard. "You're quite strong. I'm honestly impressed, Lord First Hokage," Naruto said with an honest smile on his face as he held the Hokage in place. "Not going to talk?" he asked when he noticed that the Hokage's face hadn't changed expression since he joined the fight. Naruto kicked the first off of him and quickly molded his chakra on the tip of his finger. "I'll put even more behind this than last time," Naruto said with a grin as he formed a red on the tip of his finger. "Old man," he shouted in warning. As soon as Naruto saw Hiruzen blur towards him, he fired off his jutsu. Unlike a wind jutsu, chakra enhancement technique, red was a powerful reaction of positive chakra violently condensed in on itself into a tightly compacted orb. The resulting fallout was a shockwave of pure force that the very air was displaced by. The force behind the jutsu was such that the ground rumbled even outside the barrier. He noticed that both Hokage tried to form barriers with their respective elements, but they were blasted away the moment the jutsu reached them. Naruto lowered his arm with a grin. "Well, that was fun," He cheered with a grin as he turned to the third. But I don't think it really matters till we deal with Orochimaru. My predecessors were sent into the barrier, completely burning their bodies away. The rate of the regeneration will have them returned in less than 2 minutes. Informed Hiruzen as he formed a set of seals with speed that Naruto would have never comprehended without his 6 eyes. I want you to engage Orochimaru, the third said with deep reluctance on his face. Your speed and strength is at a level that he won't be able to ignore you. However, I will move in as soon as this jutsu is ready. When that time comes, get out of the way. Naruto turned to the old man and stared at him for a moment. The chakra swirling inside of him was a mixture of so many different elemental ratios that he was genuinely curious as the outcome. But the power in the jutsu he was building showed the old man's resolve to finish off his former student, so Naruto could only nod with a happy smile. As Orochimaru was shaking off the disorientation of the red attack, he barely noticed a blue blur coming at him. Naruto slammed a ruthless kick into the snake's ribs that stole his breath. A 2-punch combo followed the kick at top speed. Knowing he needed distance, Orochimaru lashed out with a dozen snakes from his arm and jumped back. Naruto tore the incoming snakes apart with his bare hands, laced and coated with chakra, and moved to recluse the distance. Orochimaru smirked, then regurgitated a sword. Naruto's face grew with disgust as he flew towards Orochimaru. Who keeps a sword inside them? I knew you were a freak, he said with wide eyes. Ever heard of seals? You can keep all sorts of things inside them. Like a sword, and it's way less crazy than swallowing it. Wait, you're a sword swallower, aren't you? I can't say I'm surprised, and this explains your interest in Sasuke. Enough! Screamed Orochimaru as he swiped his sword in a wide arc. Naruto's 6 eyes noticed the chakra flowing through the blade, causing it to grow. He was aware of the sword's ability before it was able to grow 5 millimeters, such was the processing speed of his eyes. To those watched, the blade grew nearly in an instant as Orochimaru went to bisect Naruto. The ANBU held their breath as Naruto was midair while the swipe came for him, and they didn't see a way to avoid the attack. Behind them, molding chakra at a furious pace, the third Hokage grit his teeth at seeing. He's got me with his timing. I guess this is the level of battle that I am just able to reach at my max. I need to increase my base level. This is the max my muscles can be enhanced without shredding them. Oh well, getting thrashed by Jiraiya more than made that clear. I guess I have to use IT even though it's not totally ready, thought Naruto as he watched the elongated blade cut through the distance towards his neck. In the month before the finals, Naruto's training consisted of him learning all that he missed out on during the academy, and as much as he could about chakra in the remaining time. Naruto's attention span during his academy time made it hard for him to sit and read or listen to his teachers. This made it hard for him to properly understand what he was seeing with the 6 eyes. It didn't take long to go through everything he missed and ignored. From there he pushed to learn the basics of elemental chakras, shape, form, barriers, positive and negative principles, and final time and space jutsu. Naruto was able to form and manipulate theoretical chakras due to his perfect perception, control and understanding of chakra with the 6 eyes. Red came from manipulating pure positive chakra. Blue, a jutsu he hasn't totally finished, was the inverse, time and space jutsu, which from what he was understanding were basically teleportation and wormhole jutsu as they were now, were the highest level of ninjutsu and sealing jutsu. However, Naruto thought of separating time and space jutsu for a technique. Manipulating space by itself or time by itself, at large scales the level of energy would be impossible with the levels of chakra he possessed, but at small scales he could influence them. So he created a defensive jutsu, more of a barrier than anything else, but the chakra that formed it was in fact time in nature. It wouldn't have been possible without witnessing Jiraiya use the summoning jutsu, a time-space jutsu if at a lower level than the second and fourth Hokage's flying Raijin jutsu. Seeing the chakra in action allowed Naruto to try and form it. Thus, infinity was born. In Jiraiya of the Sannin's own words, it was the most incredible jutsu he's ever seen or heard of. The blade of Orochimaru sliced towards Naruto, who lifted his left hand into its path and formed 3 one-handed hand seals. The blade made a sound as it made contact, and Naruto's eyes shone brightly as his jutsu held firm. The point of contact between Naruto's hand and the blade was separated by inches. Orochimaru on the ground holding the blade grit his teeth as he tried to close the last bit of distance, but found it impossible. At this moment, this is the 3rd time I've been able to activate infinity. It's only the size of my torso, and I need 3 seals to properly mold the chakra, but with time and practice it will cover me. Naruto grinned at the thought of his perfect defense. Those watching the battle, the Sound Ninja, the ANBU, Orochimaru, and finally the 3rd Hokage were racking their brains trying to figure out the jutsu. However, the only one who knew Naruto wasn't about to share. Infinity is a barrier jutsu that is formed entirely by time-based chakra manipulation. It is 0.5 millimeter thick and lies 50 millimeters from my body. It's not stopping the blade, it's actually continuously slowing the blade down. A space-based barrier would be nearly impossible to use like this. The fact that the blade is still moving, but losing its speed by half every time it grows even the most infinitesimally amount closer possible, means that I can sustain this barrier energy-wise without too much hassle. It's truly the focus that is difficult and molding the chakra correctly. With infinity up I will never be touched. like the distance between numbers 1 and 2 and the infinite number of fractions between them, the blade will never reach me. Naruto's grin became savagely wide as he locked gazes with Orochimaru. The slashing blade then contact with Naruto's defense till now barely lasting 2 seconds. But they were still locked into the stalemate, either side giving an inch. Naruto! Shouted the third Hokage from the other side of the roof. Humming happily, Naruto allowed the momentum of the slash to push him away and land far enough away that the Hokage could attack. Orochimaru could only turn his head towards his former mentor, as long-forgotten fear filled every cell in his body, because he recognized what was coming. Hiruzen Sarutobi was considered the god of shinobi for many reasons, most notably was his mastery of all shape and form changes in chakra. He mastered all 5 elements to the level of a primary affinity, was able to mold his chakra into any shape he desired, and was capable of harnessing yin and yang chakra, something no shinobi could do bearing the great sage of the past and wielders of the legendary Rinnegan. The ultimate jutsu of the third Hokage was this, Requiem of the Sage. First it began by molding all the elements and keeping their strongest quality, the shredding wind, the solid foundation of the earth, the piercing energy of lightning, the power of flame and the ever-shifting form of the water, and binding them with pure yang chakra as the glue. Both of Hiruzen's hands were put together in the form of a prayer, and black lightning surround them, sparking erratically with a white halo of chakra glowing around his hands that sparked with blue lightning. His face was covered with shadow, hiding his expression from both Naruto and Orochimaru, but they knew it likely held a look of immense concentration. The instant Orochimaru looked from Naruto to the Hokage, a flash of blinding light overtook the rooftop, followed by a sonic boom that had everyone in the village reeling. Naruto was able to witness the beam of violent energy swirling with arcs of chaotic energy that destroyed everything it came into contact with. Orochimaru could do nothing but harden his body with chakra and hope the nature chakra in his body would let him survive this. The twin barriers keeping the 3 of them inside the rooftop was torn through as if it was paper, and the beam continued until it impacted a building across the street, blowing it sky high. The ninjas standing atop the building were torn to shreds, leaving only dust in their wake, and the building itself was only rubble. Naruto could only say that he had never been as impressed as he was right now. He turned back to the Hokage and audibly gasped. The old man's coils were all burned, his body was quivering, and he had a look of utter exhaustion on his face. Naruto rushed over, barely beating the Anbu, who were now able to join them, and caught the Hokage before he could fall to the ground. He needs emergency medical attention. All of his chakra coils are severely burned, shouted Naruto to the Anbu. One with green hair moved forward and began trying to heal the Hokage. Naruto turned to where Orochimaru was before the attack and frowned. There was nothing left of the area, and if Orochimaru lived or died, they wouldn't be able to confirm it. However, there were 2 things that were there that Naruto could confirm. The first and second Hokage moved forward, this time with facial expressions shifting as they gazed at the third. Naruto didn't feel any danger from them like before, but stood at the ready. The first noticed this and smiled at him gently. Please, young ninja, do not worry, we are not long for this world. The jutsu controlling us is breaking, and we will soon be free. He reassured. Oh Sarutobi, you have more than surpassed me, he said with a fond smile on his face. The second Hokage kneeled to get a closer look. I believe he will survive, however his future ability to wield chakra is unknown. Find a replacement monkey, you've more than earned your rest, he commanded firmly, but his eyes held a softness that only a proud teacher could have. The old man will be fine, I'll make sure of it, declared Naruto with a fist held up in determination. If we can't heal him here, then I'll find someone who can, I swear it. The brothers smiled fondly at the boy, the second looking at him closer. You have an interesting ocular ability. What is your name? He asked. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, wielder of the 6 eyes, and I'm going to be the strongest Hokage of them all, Naruto said while wearing a smile of supreme confidence. Both Hokage's figures began to crumble apart, and their soul broke away and started flying up into the air. They looked out at the remaining skirmishes throughout the village, the sand having left under Baki's command and most of the sound defeated and retreating. Both of them knew today was hard and filled with loss, but felt pride in the village they built, and died for remaining strong so long after their passing. Then they looked down at the young Uzumaki, who was watching them leave with his otherworldly eyes, and they knew that the future of the village would rest with him. Crazy as it may seem, they didn't feel all that hesitant leaving the future of their village to a young boy like Naruto. Naruto sat on top of his father's head on the Hokage monument with a bored expression. Lots have happened since the end of the Chunin exams and subsequent invasion led by Orochimaru of the Sannin. There was the sounds of repairs all over the village. Not so much damage was done that the village was unable to operate normally, but many businesses and homes were destroyed in the fighting. Overall death tolls were still being counted, but thankfully the civilian numbers were mitigated quite well thanks to the actions of the rapid response Chunin force. Genin, Chunin and Jonin deaths were less than expected. 4 Jonin, 94 Chunin and 11 Genin. For assault force from the sand and sound number were over 2,000 altogether, only suffering 108 deaths defending the village was very impressive. Naruto surmised that the actions of himself, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Guy, and Sasuke did the most as they took out the biggest players or defended important points in the village. Unfortunately, all wasn't amazing. Orochimaru isn't dead. The fact that his curse seal is still active on Sasuke, and Anko Mitarashi shows that. So the old man's insane jutsu was only really useful for ending the fight and disrupting the snake's control over the first and second. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the thought. The third Hokage was comatose since his use of Requiem of the Sage. One of if not the only S-class plus jutsu in existence. Something that even a young Hiruzen struggled to use, much less the old man he is today. Based on the reports of the head doctor, the old man would be lucky to retain use of his chakra, but his days as an active S-class combatant were over. Naruto didn't want to think about the odds of his survival if there wasn't something done about his coma soon. No one in the village has the ability to heal him. Head Dr. Tori was only able to ease his pain. The head of the ANBU's medical squad, Carp, was similarly unable to do much. I can only think of one person on the planet that would have a chance, and wouldn't you know it, it's the last of the Sannin, Tsunade Senju. Therein lay the problem, Naruto thought with an angry glare. With the third in the current situation, the decisions were being made by the advisory council. Made up of the major clan heads, ANBU commander, Jonin commander, and the third's old teammates. Seems with the god of shinobi out of the game, hidden agendas were coming out. All of them can go die in a hole. I'm giving Jiraiya till the sun sets before I go after his stupid teammate. It was earlier during a troubling conversation with the council Naruto confirmed his earlier thoughts of them. Earlier in the council chamber, Naruto stood in a large room which was occupied by the current council who has been deciding the fate of the village. It was lacking any real personality. Torches lined the walls, no windows and not much to sit on really, random chairs in the room with some occupied, others not. Clan heads for the Akimichi, Yamanaka, Hyuga, Inuzuka, Aburame, and Nara were sat in various positions around the room. ANBU Commander Lion was sitting crisscross on the ceiling behind Naruto, while Jonin Commander and Nara clan head Shikaka Nara was standing in front of Naruto with his arms crossed. Oh, and the three idiots were here. At a high-rise table were the three former teammates of the third, Koharu, Hamura and finally Danzo. Despite not coming from any real reputable clans, or having any remaining power beyond a typical Jonin, from his 6 eyes observation though Danzo was interesting, they certainly held themselves above everyone here. Naruto didn't hold back. He walked right in and said it. I'm not here to waste time with old fogies like all of you. Insolence! Shouted Hayashi. Naruto glared at him with glowing eyes that silenced him right away. I'm here to tell you that with the old man in his current state he needs the medical attention of Tsunade Senju, interrupted Danzo with a passive expression gathering the room's attention. Do not think your new bloodline makes you the only one capable of thought. She is the only one alive with the expertise to potentially heal Lord Hokage. Lord? This guy hates the old man's guts. I've known that since I was 7. Naruto thought with a slight narrow of his eyes. Great, then we're done here. I'll leave right now to hunt her down and bring her back. Naruto said with a grin and went to turn around. Yamanaka Inoichi spoke up before he could fully turn around. You believe that the best course of action is to bring back a traitor? He asked with a glare. Naruto turned and looked at him for a moment with a frown, but it was Choza Akimichi who spoke up. Inoichi, Tsunade isn't a traitor. Inoichi turned to his former teammate. Of course she is. She abandoned this village after the Second War. How many have died because she ran away? Lady Tsunade's disappearance is and has been excused by Lord Third. Interjected the distorted voice of ANBU Commander Lion from the ceiling. Then what's the problem? Asked Naruto. This whole conversation reeked of politics, and he truly couldn't care less. The problem, you shitty fucking twerp. Shouted Saminuzuka from her position sitting atop her dog partner, is that many won't, nor should they take kindly to that woman's presence back in the village. Like they said, who cares? Shouted Naruto while glaring at the council. I could care less about any of that. I'm going to bring her back to heal the old man. Anything after that he can decide. He said before turning to Shikaku. I wasn't asking to leave or asking to bring her back. I was notifying you as a courtesy. A courtesy? Asked Danzo, not letting the frowning Shikaku speak. You've outgrown your station, Genin. You will do as commanded by your superiors, and in this case, it is to not leave the village. Too many eyes are on you. Not even a week has gone by since the invasion, and already your profile is in the bingo books. The leaf cannot lose the 6 eyes or the 9 tails, and there it is. Naruto thought with a furious glare to the 3 idiots all agreeing with each other. Some of the clan heads agreed to various degrees as well. The bugs will go with the most logical choice. The dog doesn't like me because I pounded on her son Kiba. Likely a similar case with the Hyuga and shaming Niji so publicly. The Ino Shikacho trio are all strangely quiet. Naruto turned to the Nara and tried to lock eyes, but the man was staring towards the ground. He seemed torn on whether to speak up or not. Naruto wasn't sure if that was in his favor or not. Scarface! Shouted an irate Naruto, getting a twitch out of Shikaku. You really agree with all this? He agrees as he knows it is the right choice. Hayashi Hyuga stated before walking forward, Mr. Uzumaki, you are not in any place to demand anything of this council, nor are you to leave this village without supervision. Supervision? Naruto thought without changing his facial expressions. He forced himself to remain calm as he could tell they were building to something. Kohara chimed in from there. Hiruzen may have tolerated your disrespect out of amusement, but it is high time you learn your station. It was already bad enough you had no control over the Ninetales as our Jinchuriki, now you have no regard for your new bloodline's importance," she stated with a frown on her wrinkled face. Naruto was suspiciously quiet as they spoke. Shikaku started to look around the room with a frown. "I do not allow Hyugas to leave without a seal to keep the Byakugan safe. I would consider the same for Naruto. The Six Eyes have turned a pathetic genin into a powerful shinobi, not something we should let leave the leaf due to carelessness." Hayashi stated, getting approving looks from the three and considering ones from the rest of them. Hamura stood from his chair. "This council has already been working to place you in a new cell, better training conditions which will allow you to perform your duties as the fourth Hokage intended." Naruto opened his eyes at that point and glared at the advisor. "Oh? Is that what my old man wanted? To be your little attack dog?" Naruto wondered with a half-lidded glare that was glowing with unimaginable power. Those in the room felt hairs on their necks stand up before the words were registered. "Boy, that isn't," shouted and alarmed Koharu, but she was interrupted by Tsum. "No fucking way, you're his son!" She shouted in disbelief, her hackles up at the thought. "You're that woman's son, the Uzumaki outsider." "Outsider?" murmured Naruto before a titanic amount of chakra was felt throughout the room. All individuals inside the room were war vets, some of multiple wars. Not since the Ninetales was unleashed in the village 12 years ago did they feel such primal fear within their bodies. Naruto's body shone with a shimmery blue glow of chakra, and the ground around him cracked under the weight of his chakra. If the third Hokage chakra was like a hyper-dense blanket and Orochimaru's was a malicious swamp, Naruto was like the deep ocean, and no one in the room could force their bodies to move under the weight. Danzo's lone eye opened as he stared forward, but he didn't move to say or take any action, merely observed Naruto. Naruto continued with an icy tone, "Do not refer to my mother as anything other than Lady Kushina, dog," he said to Tsum, who gulped. Then he turned to the rest. "I have never liked any of you, the so-called High Council," Naruto said with a growl. "Before the old man was put out you had no power and were more than happy to let him lead the village. And his body isn't even cold before you try and take control." Naruto's chakra was pulled back into him, making the glow around his body resemble blue fire. He raised his hand in a claw-like motion with a narrowed eyes. "I believe you all need." Suddenly a hand was roughly slammed onto Naruto's shoulder, and if he hadn't recognized who it belonged to, he would have torn the arm off. The air in the room was once again saturated by powerful chakra, but this time it lacked the fearsome intent of Naruto's. "Jiraiya, what are you doing here?" Naruto asked, not even turning from the nervous council. Jiraiya smiled down at him in a goofy manner. "Seems you and I had the same idea. I'll take it from here. I'll meet you outside," he said with a grin. Naruto snorted and relaxed his chakra and stance. "Fine." Naruto threw a pebble from atop the Hokage monument with a sigh. The council was clearly trying to prevent the restoration of the old man and put a leash on him. He didn't particularly care about their reasons or intentions. They were cowards too scared of the old man to act till he was out of the game. From loyal advisors to ambitious swine, he hated wishy-washy people like that. It had been roughly an hour since he sat down on his father's monument, and he was pretty sure that Jiraiya would be done soon. He was anxious to get out of the village to find Tsunade Senju. "The old man is stable at the moment. He isn't going to die if they can maintain him as is, but I believe that he will cross a point of no return in 3 weeks. The way his internal network was burned by his jutsu, that woman better be worth it," Naruto thought with a sigh. "Don't think too hard, Naruto, you're far too young for wrinkles," commented Jiraiya, who landed next to him and plopped down. Naruto spared him a glance before turning back to the village. "Did you talk sense into those fools?" he asked, not particularly caring either way at this point. He was leaving come nightfall. Jiraiya slapped him on the back. "Of course. Who do you think I am? I'm quite persuasive when I need to be," he exclaimed with a beaming grin on his face. Naruto looked at him, then shook his head. "I can't believe those fools." "He's not even dead," Naruto said with a frown. Jiraiya sighed tiredly. "Crazy as it seems, Sensei's teammates Koharu and Hamura are the two that care the most about preserving his vision of the village. They're just quite pragmatic and don't have his attachments to you and others that soften his decisions," he explained softly. Naruto turned to him with a raised brow. "Soft?" The old man was many things, but he wasn't that soft. Wise and kind, sure. But he never held back after a prank went too far on my end. Jiraiya laughed. "Yes, soft. If you weren't like a grandson to him, he'd have had you trained since you could walk and wouldn't have tolerated anything resembling a prank from you. Remember, Naruto, you're a deterrent for war, a Jinchuriki, and many would consider Sensei a fool for not treating you as such. Several of whom are in this very village, I suppose, and the rest of those fools? I didn't think the clan heads would act like that." Yet Jiraiya mumbled, "That's a whole other issue. Many of the clans are still trying to figure out their standing in the village and the Fire Lord's court, since the Senju and Uchiha were basically wiped out. You present an unfortunate obstacle for their family's rise and acclaim." Naruto narrowed his eyes at that. "Explain." "There are currently 3 great clans in this country and this village. The Senju, Uchiha, and Sarutobi. You, or the Uzumaki, are being considered to be the 4th great clan right now. It's not confirmed yet, but it's all but set after this," Jiraiya said while extending forward a small booklet. Naruto took it and looked at it briefly. "International Bingo Book. There was a marked page that Naruto opened too and felt his eyes widen in surprise. Uzumaki Naruto, wanted for 50 Rio by the village hidden in the sound. Danger rating, S-class. Note, wields a bloodline known as the Six Eyes Ocular Jutsu, Naruto said with a snort before handing the book back. The snake is a bitter one. Jiraiya tucked the book back into his pocket. You are now the third, fourth if we still count Sensei, and the international community still does for now, S-class individual aligned with the leaf. The Cloud Village boasts 3, the Sand boasted 2, the Stone boasts 4, and who knows what's happening in the mist with the war and constant defections. In the Fire Country's court, the 3 now potentially 4 great clans have 3 of the continents, 4 S-class ninja. You, Sensei, and Tsunade, which is why those clans in there are less than pleased with you as you blocked one of the only times an opportunity to raise themselves has come in years, as they barely boast an A rank much less S, so they know they can't compete with you in terms of strength. Add to your pedigree, the Uzumaki being a once massive and powerful clan and your father being who he was, it was almost a no-brainer to elevate you and the Uzumaki to great clan status, explained Jiraiya with a tired sigh as he looked out over the village. Naruto scratched his head with a frown. The hell does all that even mean? I get that S-class means I'm considered an elite ninja, but who cares about great clan? Is it really just status that's important to them? Don't underestimate the power of status. Tsunade has had benefits that have prevented her being labeled a deserter due to her clan's status. Even if she was a non-elite ninja, her name alone would grant her many opportunities and leverage most would only dream of at the capital. Sasuke will have many privileges as the last of the Uchiha, loyal at least, once he comes of age. That is without the economic advantages and ears of people in the capital that can make big things happen. Many of the clans in the village would greatly benefit from such things, as most of them provide a service outside of producing ninja. Jiraiya then continued in a more serious voice. Also do not discount the elevated status of being an S-class. While not a military title, as in you're still a genin at the moment, the level of power and prestige an S-class has awards them privileges and leeway of their own just to keep them loyal. You are a face of the continent and the leaf now and will be treated as such. Even an orphan like me has lived very comfortably after attaining S-class. Though if I'm being honest, while likely deserving of S-class, you're probably the weakest of the 3 of us at the moment. Naruto shrugged. Give me a bit more time to get Infinity down, and we can revisit that comment, he said lightly, to which Jiraiya thumped him on the head. Naruto then jumped to his feet. So now what? Are we leaving to get the old broad? Jiraiya shot to his feet hastily. Don't say that. Something you have to know about her is she's vain with a capital V. Don't insult her like that or it'll make our job 100 times harder, he warned with a bead of sweat on his forehead. Naruto raised his hands silently in surrender. Jiraiya took a breath and calmed himself. Next is we leave at first light for about a 2-week journey. I have a few leads, so hopefully we're done before that. Sounds good. I haven't been able to meet up with my team in the aftermath of the invasion. Have you heard anything about them? Naruto asked. He wouldn't lie and say he wasn't a bit guilty at not looking for them in the past week, but he had spent much of it at the hospital with the old man or training. Sasuke and Sakura are fine. They had light injuries that were treated after the fighting. Sasuke led the team sent to protect the little ones at the academy quite well. I'd get the story from him, but rumor has it he proved himself quite well for promotion. Kakashi was low on chakra, but he's been in and out of the village on emergency duties, Jiraiya explained before turning thoughtful. That's another reason the council didn't want you leaving. They didn't want the village without an S-class to protect it, and they knew I'd be leaving to get Tsunade. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, I'm sure it was for a reason like that. They need their strongest here. Really making me feel like I have some type of privilege right now, he said sarcastically. He knew that was barely a consideration during that meeting. They were chomping at the bit to get him under their thumb. I didn't say it was the only reason, just a reason, Jiraiya countered with a smile. In their own way they think they're doing what's best for the village. Unfortunately, the ANBU commander, Shikaku, and some are really the only active ninja on the council anymore. The rest have duties inside the village they attend to, so their pragmatism may be a bit skewed these days. Jiraiya suddenly stopped. By the way, when did you learn about your old man? I heard you mention it in the council chamber, and just went along with it. Naruto snorted with a grin while pointing to his eyes. Ever since I've gotten these bad boys, I've been able to think far clearer and figure things out way faster. I saw a picture of him, and knew instantly. Then I broke into the record room at the Hokage Tower and found out about my mother. I didn't really bring it up because it wasn't super important at the time, I guess. I was just happy to know who they were, he said softly. Jiraiya wrapped an arm around his shoulder. They would both be incredibly proud of you, never doubt that. Thanks, Naruto said with a smile. That being said, I am pretty annoyed, but I want to talk to the old man before I let it out. After departing from Jiraiya, Naruto decided to stroll through the village and search for his team. He was taking in the sights and surveying the damage done by the invasion. Shops and signs were busted up, but surprisingly very few were totally out of commission. There were civilians chatting in the street going over their stories from the invasion with relieved smiles on their faces. Some who looked over at him had surprised looks on their faces. A few even looked slightly awed by him. Word spreads fast, I'm sure my actions with Gaara and Orochimaru have given me a new image to the people of the village. Naruto mused with a smile as he basked in the attention, offering smiles and waves to everyone who looked at him positively. Can't say I hate this development. As he walked, he listened to the whispers as he passed by, saying he took down the tail beast himself. Makes sense considering. Heard he fought alongside Lord Hokage. Husband is a chunin, said he's to be considered a lord soon. Who would have thought that boy would turn out like that? Still pissed he turned all my linens pink last year. Heard he was the only to lure the messenger birds over the Hamura shop to cover it in bird poop. Naruto had to withhold his laughter at the last few. He worked very hard on those pranks, and he was happy that their legend remained. He felt a warmth in his heart to hear whispers about him in a positive light. It wasn't that long ago that he would have to harden his heart just to walk home. Instead of Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto went towards the training grounds that his team frequented. A bit more walking and he was made privy to a sight that if his 6 eyes hadn't told him was real, he would have thought was a genjutsu. Sasuke and Sakura were locked into a spar. Sasuke didn't have the Sharingan activated, and it seemed to be hand-to-hand only, but they were going at it. Sakura's fighting style had evolved over the last month. Under the tutelage of Naruto with Jiraiya's assistance, they made her from an academy fighter to a viscous opportunist. Sakura ducked under a jab, spun outside of Sasuke and lashed out with a kick that the boy was forced to absorb before responding. Sasuke would throw a continuous combo that Sakura would deflect, dodge, and counter with incredible precision. Sasuke ducked low and went for an uppercut. Sakura saw it coming and leaned back. However, that was what Sasuke wanted and spun for a jumping back kick that she took full on to her chest. Not out of the fight, she rolled with the momentum and slid back on her feet. Bursting forth with speed levels above where she was during the exam, she let loose a 2-punch combo that Sasuke ducked and deflected that she followed up with a calf kick that Sasuke deflected with his shin. Sakura front flipped from his shin and came down with a high kick that Sasuke was forced to block with both arms with a slight grunt. Sakura jumped back and noticed Sasuke approaching with high speed and sent forward a kick. Sakura leaned back from the kick, then continued with the movement for a high kick to Sasuke's chin that knocked him off balance. She shot forward and went for a haymaker that Sasuke dodged and grabbed her arm and held it behind her back. Naruto decided to announce himself then. Wow! Sakura, that was great. Soon you'll be a worthy teammate. He laughed with a grin. Sakura deflated at hearing his voice. Shut up, you moron! She shouted back, still being held by Sasuke. Sasuke turned over to Naruto. She's improved quite a bit. I heard she was training with you last month. Yep. I needed someone to practice on. She has some insane potential for hand-to-hand. I actually have a few ideas on what else she needs, Naruto said with a wide smile while walking forward. Sakura, your chakra control is good, but your chakra enhancement is wasteful and poorly channeled. Work on that, and you'll be way better. I'm getting better at maintaining optimal enhancement, but while I'm fighting, it's tough to keep it steady. Sakura said with a sigh as she was let go by Sasuke. I have a few ideas on how to train. I think it's just going to take time. Kakashi-sensei had me enhancing myself at all times, and he would call out different levels and I would have 2 seconds to match until it was second nature, Sasuke said as he stretched lightly. Though I haven't been able to maintain it for very long before tiring myself out, I have a few minutes at my max. Naruto wrapped an arm around Sasuke's shoulder. Keep training and you'll get it, Sasuke. He cheered with a high-pitched voice. Sasuke responded with a shove, then glared at the trees. Sakura, keep training it. I'll help when I get back. I'm going to be gone for a few weeks to get Tsunade to come heal the old man, explained Naruto before becoming sheepish. Don't tell anyone where I'm going or that it's for the old man. Don't think I should have mentioned it. No, you should not have, came the voice of Kakashi as he appeared next to them out of nowhere. Sasuke and Sakura turned from Kakashi's sudden appearance to Naruto. Why are you in the loop with Lord Hokage? Asked Sakura. Well, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to share, but since you're my team, I'll just trust your discretion, Naruto said with a lazy smile. Kakashi just quietly sighed but didn't move to interrupt him. I fought with the old man, so I was there. He's out of the game, unfortunately, but with the help of Tsunade he'll be up and about in no time. She's the only one who can help, so it's become top priority. Jiraiya and I are going to get her. Kakashi perked up after hearing that. Both of you? I'm surprised they're allowing that, he said with his lone eye showing a bit of surprise. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kakashi. Don't tell me you're on those fools' side? I'm not sitting around while the old man is in that situation. I don't care about my status, and if it makes you feel better, I should be able to return at a moment's notice if necessary. Kakashi just raised his hands in surrender. Status? Asked Sasuke with a raised eyebrow. I've been dubbed S-Class, so they want to shackle me here among other reasons, Naruto grumbled with an eye roll. Sasuke and Sakura's eyes widened comically. S-Class, they shouted. Sasuke's eyes fell to the ground frozen in thought. Kakashi settled them down. Yes, it's more than earned considering his actions in the invasion and who they were against. It's customary for all of the Great Five to have an S-Class, usually their Kage, guarding the village at all times, and with Lord Hokage indisposed, Kakashi trailed off. Naruto! Shouted Sakura in shock. You can't leave if Lord Jiraiya is going. What if? Naruto interrupted with a raised hand. The old man's situation isn't known by the public. As far as anyone is concerned, he's resting. Even those within the village that don't have Jonin clearance don't know. He explained. Wait, what do you mean you could return at a moment's notice? Asked Sasuke. Naruto blurred forward and hugged Sasuke. I'm glad you asked, Sasuke. He shouted, getting face full of Sasuke's hands as he tried to free himself. After unceremoniously dropping Sasuke, Naruto went through 11 hand seals ending with the snake seal. There was a slight flare of chakra and a bit of a whoosh sound. Naruto in 1 second was in front of them, then at the next he was behind them. All three of them turned from where Naruto was standing to where he was standing several times. Kakashi just chuckled in disbelief while Sasuke glared at the grass beneath his feet, while Sakura looked a bit excited at the development. I did that by playing with space-natured chakra. Naruto shouted joyfully. Basically, if I consider where I am point 1 then where I want to be point 2, I reduce the space between the 2 points to 0 and I'm warped to that point. The 4th Hokage did something similar but with seals as the medium, and his was easier to make combat ready. Though with time my jutsu will be so superior no one will even bring him up. He shouted with a wide grin and his sunglasses shining in the setting sunlight. It isn't as complicated as it sounds. I basically apply my infinity jutsu in reverse. I'm not expanding time to constantly slow down incoming attacks but reducing the distance to 0 using space chakra. I should be able to do it over long ranges eventually, but at the moment I can only do it to places in eyesight after 11 hand seals to get the chakra ratios right. Though I do have the anchor to help in my apartment for emergencies. Naruto thought with a hum. Space chakra was more tangible than time-based chakra, so he could play with it a bit more. Time was incredibly dangerous. He didn't want to mess with it too much and get sent into the fucking past or something. Looking back towards his team, he saw that Sasuke and Kakashi were off to the side talking about lightning jutsu, completely ignoring him. While Sakura was staring at him with wide eyes, clearly appreciating his genius. You're going to tear yourself in half doing stuff like that, Sakura said with wide eyes. Do you even understand the physics behind what you're doing? Cause if Naruto's eyebrow twitched, I test it with clones. Hey! Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke, you done? He shouted. Oh sorry, did you say something, Naruto? Asked Kakashi as he and Sasuke turned back to him. Nope, he's not getting me with that. Thought Naruto before weaving seals to reactivate his jutsu. See you in a few weeks, losers. He said before warping out of the clearing. Naruto and Jiraiya were enjoying a nice stroll through the forests of Fire Country as they made their way towards where Jiraiya's intel suggested Tsunade was residing with her aide Shizen. So what's the big deal here? Asked Naruto with his hands in his pocket. Why is getting this lady so involved? I mean, at the end of the day she's a leaf ninja, active or not. Jiraiya sighed. You're right, but remember what I said about great clans and S-class privilege? Well, she's taken advantage of both to be given indefinite leave, so the trouble isn't finding her, it's getting to her without her sensing us and bolting. If she knows we're coming, then she'll run, and we'll be on a chase I don't particularly want to have to be a part of. Naruto snorted. She sounds like a real handful. He laughed. I guess I won't complain too much. It's nice to be out of the village for a bit. The silence continued for a while, but Naruto had another question. So, why are you so focused on going to find her? I'm more than enough to go bring her back, and the old fogies would be happy to have you stick around. Not like they'd really trust me with anything like they do you. Well, that's cause you're still a twerp, Jiraiya said with a grin, getting an eye roll from Naruto. In all seriousness, it's because there are rules, and despite having more knowledge of chakra theory than any Jonin I've met, you are sorely lacking in the political knowledge of our country and the others. Especially as a new S-class, there are rules even in this country we have to follow. More unspoken but rules all the same. Naruto turned to him with a raised eyebrow. Maybe I can force the snake to resend the rating, cause this is becoming annoying, old man. He grumbled. Jiraiya laughed. With strength comes responsibility, Naruto. You have tremendous strength, so I got it. Sighed Naruto. So what am I missing? There is a balance between the Hokage and the Fire Lord. While ninja villages are largely independent from the capital, there is a back and forth. The Fire Lord in the capital is in charge, and there are 5 advisors, all of which hold large influence in the country and trade throughout the continent. Trade that we need: food, cloth, resources, herbs, basically things that don't grow or exist naturally in this country. With that, the capital also provides funds to the village in times of need, such as after the Ninetales attack, where we needed all the help we could get to quickly rebuild so as not to look weak to the other 4 great nations. Naruto hummed. I suppose it doesn't come for free? Jiraiya nodded. Exactly. The Hokage's ninja are tools to complete missions, and those with money can hire us. The Fire Lord and the 5 advisors often have work that needs to be done, from being political diplomats in other nations or taking care of rivals. Naruto saw Jiraiya giving him a deadly stare, and Naruto understood. The rivals weren't always in other countries. None of this is hidden from the Fire Lord or Hokage. In fact, it's actually encouraged to keep everyone sharp. We may not have the public history that the Bloody Mist does, but the Land of Fire has its own history of infighting. Besides the Fire Lord, the Hokage has the most authority in the country, with the 5 advisors being below that. Then are the great clans. See why it's important? Naruto rubbed his hair with a groan. Yeah, I get it. So what's the rules? You explained all that but didn't answer my question. Jiraiya thumbed him on the head. I was getting to it. he said with a glare. You and I are the go-to hire for those in the capital. Our power and reputation make us ideal emissaries, as we can go most places to deliver messages that would normally kill all that approach from the Leaf. Last year I went to the Rock Village to deliver the updated trade agreement from the Fire Lord to the Stone Lord. I know you know how that's impossible for most others. Naruto nodded with an impressed face. Even with your rep you have some balls, Jiraiya. Laughed Naruto. I mean, you're the one who trained my old man who tore those losers apart. Jiraiya snorted. They hate us and him especially. But that Sasuke isn't a stupid man and knows there isn't a point to starting another war. For now, at least. He trailed off tiredly. Think they're losing it over me? Naruto asked excitedly. I mean, I look so much like him. Not to mention I'm getting pretty famous thanks to the bingo book. Oh, I hope they've seen it, Naruto said with a wide smile. Jiraiya went to thump him on the head again, but Naruto ducked away and laughed. Ha ha, old man. Then Naruto felt a thump on his head and turned to see a clone poof away. Seriously, when did you make that? Naruto asked with a blank expression. Jiraiya burst out laughing. Like an hour ago, he shouted. Naruto blew a raspberry at him. Whatever. Jiraiya sobered back up after a bit. Back to the rules. Because we're the go-to, we have to always be ready to drop what we're doing to answer a summon to the capital. Knowing you, if you were summoned while out here alone, you'd ignore it, and that would just cause all sorts of issues. Naruto nodded. Makes sense. Anyone besides you do these things? Jiraiya nodded. Yes. I do a majority of the political things. Sometimes Kakashi, as well as his rep, is incredible, and his strength isn't anything to scoff at. But for the work, sometimes an ANBU Capitan will take the job. The issue is the Hokage decides who gets the assignment, otherwise they would demand me for everything. My mission rate is very high, but they have practically unlimited money. Naruto perked up. Oh. What would my mission rate be? He asked. He wasn't exactly well off financially. He's only been on 10 missions and 9 of which were D rank. I'm sure it is gonna be higher than Kakashi's, so likely 2 million minimum. Jiraiya said with a wave. Mine is 10. He said with a grin, to which Naruto laughed back. Naruto suddenly stops and turns to Jiraiya with a curious expression. By the way, are we just let those guys follow us the whole time, or should we do something about it? He asked while pointing a thumb to the forest behind them where he knew they were being followed. Jiraiya shrugged. They're here for you, you take care of them. I was hoping they'd have the guts to start the fight. In the next moment, 6 ninja with no headband arrived in front of them with a body flicker. Naruto looked at all of them closely. There wasn't a common elemental affinity among them that would give away a village affiliation, nor were there really any visual cues. All of them had very little defining standout features. Okay, I give. Where are all of you from? Called Naruto with a tilted head. Jiraiya took a few steps back. They're unaffiliated scouts. They want to get a feel for you. This means that every lord and Kage now know of you and wants to see if you live up to the hype. After all, S-class win wars. Naruto stepped forward while cracking his knuckles. Got it? Now I want all of you to give it your all. Don't make this boring. He shouted before blitzing forward and kicking the one in his center. To the ninja's credit, he managed to raise his guard, but Naruto felt both arms break from the kick. Naruto's eyes glowed and he blurred past the ninja he kicked to get behind him and swept his legs from out under him and rained down punches with ruthless force. Once the ninja was completely broken, he stood back up and turned to the rest. The 5 were silently watching. I would recommend you come at me together. Naruto didn't wait and rushed another. This time the ninja he was attacking was supported by 2 more who came at him with tantos. Naruto pulled the ninja in the middle who had his guard raised with earth nature chakra to protect him. Naruto grabbed him and threw him at the ninja on his right, sending them tumbling away. Then he leaned away from the slash and ducked under the follow-up attack. Naruto sent a knife hand to the ninja's open side, breaking the ribs. Naruto was forced to block an incoming kick from the 5th remaining ninja and with lightning speed grabbed the foot and tossed him into the ground. Naruto was about to finish him off when the 2 he sent tumbling away shot forward to attack, one with a tanto, the other with a fist glowing with lighting natured chakra. The one with the tanto was channeling wind chakra, so Naruto knew not to touch it, otherwise he'd lose a finger or hand. With that in mind, he avoided the tanto with swaying movements and waited for his opportunity. The second ninja with the lightning fist attacked after he swayed back, and Naruto grinned savagely at the mistake. He grabbed the incoming attack by the wrist and pushed it in the way of the wind blade, causing an explosion from the elements clashing. Naruto saw Lightning Fist lose his hand and moved to finish him. Naruto jumped and kicked him in the chest, sending him back, then warped behind the ninja and slammed a full-force punch to his back, cracking and breaking all him bones in his torso. The ninja with a tanto had his blade ruined and he moved to attack in hand-to-hand. Naruto parried a punch and hit him with 6 punches to various places around his body, then finished with a spinning kick to his neck, sending him tumbling away out of the fight. The remaining 2, one with the broken ribs and the other who he threw into the ground, were on guard next to each other. Naruto noticed that the one with the tanto pulled another out to dual-wield the blades. Naruto shot forward and made it look as if he was going after the unarmed one, but attacked both, the one with the tanto with a kick and the unarmed one with an elbow. The bladed ninja tried to slash him while the other tried to punch him, but Naruto parried the punch and grabbed the wrist holding the blade. He pulled the wrist forward and kneed him in the face, rattling his skull and shattering his nose. The last one knew he was outmatched and took out a roll of explosive notes and rushed him. Naruto grinned and coated his hand with chakra as he grabbed the roll of notes and flooded the paper with so much chakra it destabilized the seals, causing them to catch fire rather than explode. Naruto then leg swept the ninja and followed up with a hammer arm to smash him into the ground, creating a crater in the earth from the force. Naruto wiped his hands off as he looked at the 6 down ninja. That was fun, now go. Tell everyone of my amazing power. I'll happily beat any of you into the ground again. Laughed Naruto. He watched as they managed to pull themselves up and drag each other away into the forests. Jiraiya stepped up with a thoughtful expression. That was different than your usual boasting. More calculated. Naruto nodded. After the invasion, and the old man, we need a new boogeyman to deter foolishness from our rivals. I took them down without ninjutsu as a statement of strength. I do still plan to be Hokage after all. Jiraiya nodded, smart. Though you should settle for 6th Hokage as you're too valuable to be relegated to the job now. That's actually the reason we're rushing to get Tsunade as well. She is perfect for the job, strength and reputation in spades, and we won't lose any manpower as she hasn't been active in decades. Naruto's face gave nothing away as he acknowledged what Jiraiya was saying. He didn't want to voice that he wasn't exactly a fan of someone who ran from her duties becoming Hokage. He'd have to test her when they met. Gotcha, said Naruto as they continued their walk. Tanzukagai, one of the 4 major cities in the Land of Fire. There were many attractions, and centermost was the entertainment district, which held more gambling houses than anywhere else in the country. Naruto and Jiraiya walked through the bustling nightlife of Tanzukagai with curious eyes as they looked around. Well, Naruto was curious. Jiraiya looked like he was back in his old stomping ground. Soft, warm lights from lanterns lit the footpaths, shops and stands were spread out throughout the district's streets. Bars and restaurants were filled with laughing and cheering as the customers were celebrating together for whatever reason. The atmosphere of the city was drastically different than anywhere else in the country. While positive in energy, the Leaf was a hidden village. Even the civilians knew it was primarily a military city with the ninja dictating all the rules. While fun could be had, if the ninja didn't approve or sanction it on some level, it was stopped. The capital was extremely positive, even to civilians with no power and influence finding it a nice place to live. If only because the rules were a bit laxer than the Leaf, as there are no seemingly all-knowing ninja enforcing the laws. The capital was run on pleasure and money, for better or worse. Tanzukagai was a happy medium, enforced by a regiment of warriors from the capital as well as patrolling Chunin squads. That allowed the streets to be relatively safe from crime, but still have the freedom for entertainment that wouldn't have been strictly permitted in the Leaf. These people are all so happy, thought Naruto with a grin. Jiraiya mentioned that they were approaching Tsunade and had them wait on the outskirts of village until nightfall, as she would be drunk enough to not notice them enter the village. Naruto suspected that even with chakra suppression he wasn't capable of fully hiding his presence, as his chakra was just too vast. Not exactly awesome for a ninja. He'd work on it. In here, said Jiraiya as he pointed to a bar located on the end of a lane. The lights from the bar were a bit duller, and the sounds were lower than the rest of the bars back in the center of the village. Naruto followed Jiraiya into the bar with a curious look. There were only 2 customers in the bar located at a booth in the corner, one of which stood up as they entered. Jiraiya, shouted Tsunade after they walked in. Jiraiya smiled. Long time no see, Tsunade. Sheesh, I'm exhausted from all the walking, he said as he moved to join her and Shizen at the booth. Naruto followed behind with his hands in his pockets. I don't know anything about this woman except for what's in the books. I'll let Jiraiya do the talking. They're looking at each other as more than former teammates, he thought with a raised eyebrow. After sitting at the booth, Jiraiya gestured to him. This is Naruto. He came with me to meet you. Yo, Naruto said with a salute as he accepted food from the waiter, then ordered more. Tsunade barely spared him a glance, but Shizen's eyes widened for a moment before she turned away. Naruto didn't bother looking at her more than a glance. He was too busy being blown away by Tsunade. Her chakra is unlike anything I've ever seen. Every muscle fiber has traces of being enhanced. That's control on a level I didn't think someone could achieve without a bloodline, thought Naruto as he let his 6 eyes take in everything about the woman. I would bet that even without her actively molding chakra to strengthen herself, she's stronger than the average jonin. At her max, I bet she could shatter a mountain. It's crazy that someone so strong is so weak-minded to need a genjutsu to make herself look younger. Jiraiya took a drink from the sake at the table and sighed happily. You've grown even more beautiful, Tsunade. I've missed you, even if you spend so much effort to avoid me, he said with a grin. Surprisingly, Tsunade laughed. Maybe if you tried a bit harder it wouldn't have been 2 years since we've seen each other, she said with a smile. Naruto's eyes widened. How wouldn't have called that? Jiraiya has the hots for this woman. I thought his true love were the ladies at the entertainment district back home. He laughed to himself at the thought. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. It has been a while, he said with a frown. We'll have to pick up where we left off in the Moon Resort, she replied with a hiccup. I haven't had a good. Her eyes narrowed, and she shook her head. Oh God, I am drunk, she said morosely. Jiraiya burst into laughter, confusing Naruto and getting a tired sigh from Shizen. I'll say, we were at that resort nearly 10 years ago, though those were the best times. he said with a melancholic smile on his face. Naruto tilted his head and connected the dots quickly, then burst into laughter, getting the attention of everyone else at the table. You're kidding, Jiraiya? You and her? That's wild. He turned to Tsunade. You must be something to snag this one, he said while pointing to Jiraiya, who was rapidly growing more and more nervous. I mean, there can't be too many out there that would settle for a genjutsu-clad old woman, much less Jiraiya of the Sannin. Somehow Naruto managed to hit every single conversation landmine Tsunade possessed, and he seemed to be even more thrilled as he finished speaking. Shizen pulled her pet pig that was nestled in her arms closer with a worried look while Jiraiya was sweating bullets in his seat. Tsunade glared at him with a thunderous look that even Naruto found a tad bit scary. Who do you think you are, you little shit? She shouted, standing to her feet. Why are you here, Jiraiya? If you wanted to drink, you shouldn't have brought a snot-nosed little punk. Naruto's face softened from the grin he was wearing as he felt a bit of irritation flare from her words. He would normally shut down someone talking like this, but he wasn't in front of a normal ninja, so he'd offer leeway. Honestly, she was still pretty drunk, and he found it pretty funny. Jiraiya sighed. Honestly, I wish I were here for fun times. I'm here to request you return to the village. Sensei hurt himself bad using that jutsu to deal with Orochimaru during the invasion. Tsunade's eyes hardened. So that old fossil used that, huh? Never would have thought he still had it in him. She mused cruelly, getting a twitch out of Naruto. Well, you can stuff it. You've been named 5th Hokage. Jiraiya interrupted. It's not so simple as blowing me off. Shizen gasped, and Tsunade's eyes widened for a moment before glaring at him fiercely. You dare you hunt me down to demand I return to that place, and even worse, you convinced those people to make me Hokage. Me? Tsunade jumped to her feet. You can both fuck off, she shouted while slamming a hand onto the table, cracking it. Naruto stared at the table blankly while Jiraiya finished his saucer of sake. Neither of them all that intimidated. Too much, she said lowly as she sat back down. That hellhole took too much from me, and now you want me to die like those fools. Like Sensei? That's all the Hokage position is. A chair for a fool to kill themselves at the appropriate time. Naruto clenched his fist. Fools? Big words from a weak woman like you, wallowing in self-pity, he said venomously. There are many who have lost everything for the leaf and still happily protect it. I had my ticket torn less than an hour after I was born, and you don't see me drowning in alcohol. Tsunade snapped her head to him. That's enough, she shouted while jumping back to her feet. Naruto mirrored her actions with a slight glare from behind his glasses. Think you know everything, twerp? Then let's take this outside, she said with a growl before stomping out of the bar. Jiraiya sighed and tossed the barkeep a roll of money before following her out, Shizen and Naruto right behind him. The two ninjas stood across from each other in the empty road. The bar was far enough from the main street that there were no civilians around to get in the way. You think your hero worship of the Hokage makes them less of fools? I'll show you just how shallow your thoughts are on the real world, Tsunade said while stretching her arms. Naruto scared. I'm going to say it right now. Apologize and take back what you've said about the Hokage. And I won't smash you into the ground and drag your old ass back to the leaf, he said with a frown. As he said that, he observed as her chakra purged the alcohol from her system at light speed. Yes, sure, you little shit. Tell you what, land a hit on me and I'll acknowledge you as a ninja. Till then you can settle for being the twerp genin with too loud a bark, she taunted with a smirk. Naruto tilted his head. Twerp genin? Ha, I'm the future Hokage of the leaf. I'm too young right now for it, so they're giving it to a useless ninja like you who won't cost us battle power to put in the chair, he responded while limbering up. Tsunade's eyes widened for a moment at his words, then she went back to angry. Also started Naruto before shooting forward at his absolute top speed, shocking everyone and slamming a devastating punch into Tsunade's gut, launching her off the street and through a building. One hit isn't going to be all that tough, he said while dispassionately gazing in the direction she flew. Shizen off to the side leaned over to Jiraiya. So he's the one I heard about? Probably. Tsunade clearly doesn't pay attention to the new developments in the ninja world, Jiraiya said with an amused laugh. She was paying for it now, he thought. A pulse of chakra was felt from the rubble of the building, then green wisps of chakra began rising into the air. Naruto popped his neck as his 6 eyes told him that the rust on Tsunade's abilities were quickly being removed. Guess we'll see if the legendary fighter is all she's cracked up to be. Rubble was blasted into the air as Tsunade shot to her feet. Chakra was consolidated around her gut, healing the damage inflicted by Naruto. Healing of that level without physically directing the chakra. You're pretty good, complimented Naruto as he watched it happen with his eyes. He knew that such a thing was beyond him at the moment. Tsunade cracked her neck and limbered up. Who are you? You're not much older than a fresh graduate, she asked, then turned to Jiraiya. Who is he? Naruto Uzumaki. I introduced him earlier, he answered helpfully with a smile. Naruto didn't wait any longer and shot forward. This time Tsunade caught the punch and sent one of her own. The punch was deflected to the right. However, the sheer force of the punch was such that the building in the path had a massive crack in the wall. Naruto went for an uppercut that was caught. He ducked under a hook, threw a jab to her gut that was redirected, and he was caught in the side by her follow-up strike, making him wince. Naruto backed off, then raised a knee to her face, and she slammed a palm to stop him, then followed up with a jab at lightning speed. Naruto only barely dodged in time. He launched 3 punches as fast as he could. She only dodged the first and blocked the second before taking a hit to the kidney. She grunted at the force, then went on the offensive with her own combo that Naruto was struggling to deflect and dodge. He swayed around the first punch, caught the second, and winced from the power behind the hit. The last was barely ducked under, and he felt his hairs sway from the force. Tsunade didn't let up the pressure. She stomped the ground, which caused a crater to be formed, taking away Naruto's footing that she took advantage of by landing a devastating punch to his stomach, launching him away. Naruto caught himself midair and landed in a crouch, a stream of blood flowing from his mouth. Her raw skill with taijutsu is in a whole other planet than my own. I'm a solid chunin. She could go toe-to-toe with the raikage and skill. What a pain, not to mention her chakra enhancement. Body is better than mine. In hand-to-hand I'll lose. Okay, you're good, Naruto commented as Tsunade rushed forward with flaming green chakra flowing from her fists. Now, chakra enhancement jutsu, red, said Naruto while powering up a glowing red orb at the tip of his finger. Before he could fire the jutsu, Jiraiya jumped between them with both hands raised. Let's stop it here. You two will destroy the town if you keep at it. Tsunade immediately stopped while Naruto sighed as he stopped red before it went off. It was about to get good. Jiraiya, Naruto whined. I think she may be a worse matchup for me than Jiraiya. How interesting. I need to get infinity usable. I'm scraping the surface of S, but I'm not there fully yet if this is what type of monsters await me. Tsunade stared at the ground in shock. I didn't think to go that far, she muttered to herself, completely shocked at the boy's ability, and her own lack of thought in getting so serious. She knew he was likely Kushina's son, but to think he was so strong. Jiraiya, let's go, we need to talk, she demanded before stomping off. Shizen sighed as she took in the destroyed environment, then rushed to catch up to her master. Jiraiya watched her leave with a wistful smile. Her breasts are the wonder, but that ass isn't bad either, he said with a smile. Naruto turned to him with a deadpan expression. Yeah, I'm going to bed. Don't pull something, old man, he trailed off, feeling gross for even thinking like that. I'll get a room at an inn. With that, master and students separated for the night, confident that their mission would be over in the coming days, not knowing what was coming. It was nearing noon when Jiraiya and Tsunade decided to sit down to eat together. Both of them caught up after the impromptu fight the night before and were enjoying each other's company. Both of them found solace in one of the only people in the world that has been there for them throughout their whole lives. Jiraiya smiled to himself as he watched his old teammate and lifelong flame eat. There was a time when this was the dream I would die for, he mused wistfully, then got a bit more serious. Tsunade, I hope you know that you're the best person for the job, otherwise I would have never suggested you. Tsunade smiled at first, then glared to the side. We can't just have a meal, huh? Always focused on work. First it was your network that didn't let you settle down, now you won't even let me settle on my own, she said with a downcast expression. I told the kid, and I'll tell you, I don't think I have any more to give the village. That's not true, I saw it last night when you fought with Naruto, Jiraiya said, making effort to lock eyes with her. You're lost in the past, but if you look to the present, you'd see there are people who love you and believe in you. I failed all the people I love and who loved me, Tsunade said with a glare. I couldn't